Chapter 548. Xianxia felt that she was about to fly. She kept flying from the sky to the sea and from the sea to the forest. She had flown before, but this was the most enjoyable driving experience for her. Oh no, it was the experience of being driven. It was very strange that Xianxia did not feel afraid at all. When she was being hugged by Fang Yan and being beaten up by countless burly men, blood splattered everywhere, screams of pain, and the sound of bones breaking, she did not feel afraid at all. Her heart was filled with excitement. In order to maintain her soft and sexy figure, she did not practice taekwondo like many socialites or hire a martial arts teacher to guide her. Other than practicing yoga for an hour every day, she would run 4 times a month. Other than that, she did not exercise at all. Other than letting others exercise, she did not have any ability to protect herself. The only thing she could do was to give herself to Fang Yan. She believed that Fang Yan would protect her just like he did just now. She believed that Fang Yan would be able to protect herself. She did not doubt this at all. Isn't this too ridiculous? Even Xianxia felt that she was sick. No matter what, Fang Yan was her enemy. Before tonight, they were still in a life and death struggle. Why did she trust him so much? Why did she have so much confidence in him? Because Fang Yan is a good person. Xianxia thought to herself. Of course, she was very clear that this was not the only reason. In fact, it was not even the most important reason. There were so many good people in the world. Why did she only trust Fang Yan? Fang Yan was a charming man. Fang Yan was a man that people were infatuated with. Fang Yan was a man that she fell in love with. This is no longer ridiculous, it's a fantasy. Xianxia thought to herself. How could she fall in love with a man with only a few encounters? However, when this thought surfaced in her mind, Xianxia realized that she could not refute it. She could not convince herself. Fang plum blossom steps. Fang Yan's feet stepped on the plum blossoms, his body passing through the crowd like a gentle breeze. With a single punch, he sent a man in black who was clenching his teeth and pouncing at him flying. The man's teeth fell out. With another lightning-fast step, the face of a big guy who was sneaking up on him turned the color of pig liver. He covered his crotch and squatted down. Drunken crane rides the wind. Fang Yan was like a drunkard who had too much to drink. He was holding a woman in his arms as he staggered in the crowd. Every time he hit someone with his shoulder or knee, the person who was hit would be sent flying, the bones in his body cracking. Iron skin. His body was like iron bones, anyone who came into contact with it would be injured. The trump cards of the true martial guild hall were indeed quite strong. Several of their punches were accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. They were already showing signs of attaining a higher level. The most threatening ones were Gray and Wang Dongxiu, the curator of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall. The two of them were in the middle of the Jianghu and the Jianghu. They were the top figures in the Jianghu, but they could not enter the Jianghu. In other words, even though they knew the cultivation method, it was still difficult for them to enter the more profound and mysterious world of the Jianghu. Just like Fang Yan's disciple Zhang Chen, who had been the champion of Huaqing Sanda for many years and was already a top expert in the Jianghu. However, when he met Fang Yan, he did not have the slightest bit of power to retaliate. This was the difference between understanding the force and using the qi. However, they could not stop Fang Yan's footsteps even if they worked together. They could not even hurt his hair and clothes. No matter how hard they tried, the gap was too big. Before they could even touch Fang Yan's body, they were sent flying by a heavy blow. It was like a chick and a goshawk, like a house cat and a wild leopard, like a gun and a cannon, and even more like an egg and a stone. An egg would not touch a stone. Would a basket of eggs be enough? Would a cart of eggs be enough? The answer was no. Bem. Gray did have a few tricks up his sleeve. Every time he punched out, there would be a loud sound of impact. That was the sound produced by his fist and the stirring of the air. His fists did not hurt anyone, but the force from his fists made one's face burn with pain. Of course, it made Xianxia's face burn with pain. Even though Fang Yan had her in his arms, she would definitely be the first target of those punches, kicks, elbows, and whatnot when facing the enemy head-on. She looked like a protective doll that Fang Yan had placed in front of him. Fang Yan took 3 quick steps, turned his body to Gray's left, and kicked him away with a black dragon swings its tail. Goulet retreated continuously and only managed to stand up with difficulty after Wang Dongxiu supported him from behind. "Old Gu, are you all right?" Wang Dongxiu asked with concern. When Gulei saw that Wang Dongxu was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, he knew that he had suffered an internal injury. With reddened eyes he said, "Dongxu, this kid is tricky. Let him go. Don't let the kids be at a disadvantage." Wang Dongxu stared at Fang Yan fiercely and could not make the final decision. If he allowed Fang Yan to leave just like that, the martial arts club would lose a lot of face. After today's incident, the martial arts club could be completely removed from the underground boxing scene. If they could not even defeat one person, how could they still have the face to stand in the arena and fight with others? However, they had brought the entire club to attack Fang Yan. They even had some good friends who had volunteered to help. For example, Master Zheng from the Justice Boxing Club and Master Li from the Great Accomplishment Boxing Club. Of course, they were all lying on the ground and howling in pain. If they could not even take down that kid with such strength and made him suffer a few punches and kicks, was there still a need to continue fighting this battle? Even if they persisted, not only would more members of the club get injured, but Gulei and himself would also not end up well. From the way he dealt with Chen Dachui, it could be seen that this kid was ruthless. If they really enraged him, Wang Dongxu hesitated for a moment and said, pretending to be in a difficult position, "Since old Gu has spoken, we juniors can only obey." Wang Dongxu waved his hand and shouted, "Back off, all of you." Phew! Someone breathed a sigh of relief. Because countless people breathed a sigh of relief at the same time, the gathering of this soft sigh sounded particularly ear-piercing. Those members of the martial arts club were already in a dilemma. If they advanced, they could not win. If they retreated, they would lose face. Now that the curator had personally spoken, they naturally felt happy both physically and mentally. Everyone looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. Gulei and Wang Dongxu were also very embarrassed. They glared at those kids with disappointment and shouted, "What a disgrace." Many people were lying on the ground. The onlookers had long hidden far away, saying that Fang Yan was not human. Fang Yan, who was standing in the middle of the crowd, was extraordinarily handsome, like a top-notch swordsman who had never been seen in the world. He had won. The victory was easy and pleasing to the eye. Although Fang Yan had never seriously fought with anyone, the only thing he had done was to shuttle around the crowd with a charming little woman in his arms. However, every time he punched, someone would be sent flying, and every time he kicked, someone would fall to the ground. Like a butterfly playing with a flower, he was free and unfettered. In other words, among so many people present, no one was worthy of him seriously fighting. He did not even use the heart of Tai Chi, although it was difficult for him to speak. Some words had to be said. Wang Dongxu cleared his throat and looked at Fang Yan with unfocused eyes. He said, "It's our bad luck that our skills are not as good as others. You should go." Fang Yan smiled and pointed at Chen Dachui, who was still unconscious after being dragged not far away by them. He said, "If you were really unlucky, you would have been like him." Wang Dongxu felt suffocated. He could not argue with him and he could not beat him in a fight. If he were to meet such an opponent again, he would hide further away. Fang Yan did not want to talk anymore. Under the gaze of countless people, he pressed the elevator button. When the elevator door opened, he carried Xianxia and walked into the elevator. Clang. When the elevator door closed again, everyone in the underground boxing arena heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. This was a feeling that made people blush. It was a kind of pressure that was condescending, so everyone wanted to deliberately ignore it. Therefore, those who were boxing continued to box, and those who were drinking continued to drink. Those who were flirting continued to flirt, and those who were cursing continued to curse. Wang Dongxu supported Gray and wanted to say something, but he could not say anything. Gray sighed and said, "Boxing is scary, young man. Let's admit defeat this time. Let the children get up and send Dachui to the hospital." "I will make the arrangements," Wang Dongxu said. In the elevator, Fang Yan felt that Xianxia's breathing was getting heavier. He asked, "Are you all right?" "I want to go to the washroom." Jiang Xianxia's voice was like the buzzing of a mosquito as she whispered into Fang Yan's ear. She had drunk a few mugs of beer in a row, and it had long become a burden on her body. She did not feel anything when she was fighting with others just now, but now that the fight was over, she felt that it was unbearable. Fang Yan nodded and said, "I will send you there." The elevator stopped at the side hall of the bar. When the two men in black saw Fang Yan and Jiang Xianxia coming out, they smiled and bowed to them again. Fang Yan nodded at them, and after asking for the location of the washroom, he carried Xianxia and walked over. Fang Yan placed Xianxia at the entrance of the ladies' washroom and asked, "Are you all right?" "No problem," Xianxia replied. She waved her hands and walked toward the washroom unsteadily. Fang Yan wanted to turn around and leave, leaving this woman to fend for herself. However, he was a little worried. He had injured so many people in the underground boxing arena just now, and only God knew if there would be some extreme fellows who would come after him and do something as revenge. If they really did anything to Xianxia, he wouldn't feel good about it either. "I will go back after sending her away," Fang Yan thought to himself. The washroom of the bar was very luxuriously decorated. When Fang Yan was combing his hair in front of the bronze mirror outside the washroom, a woman's scream suddenly sounded from the ladies' washroom. "Ah!" Fang Yan was shocked and rushed out of the washroom hurriedly. Chapter 549. There was a huge difference between the men's and ladies' toilets. Of course, there would be some differences. What worried Fang Yan the most was that he couldn't find any trace of Xianxia. Could someone be lying in ambush to harm Xianxia? Wasn't this enemy too good at scheming? Fang Yan couldn't be bothered anymore. He pushed open the cubicles of the toilet and tried to find her. Xianxia. When Fang Yan pushed open a cubicle, a fair and tender arm suddenly reached out and pulled him out. When Fang Yan was about to counterattack, he smelled a familiar perfume. He had hugged Xianxia for almost half the night and was very familiar with her scent. Xianxia. Just as Fang Yan was about to ask what was going on, Xianxia's body had already fallen toward Fang Yan. Fang Yan reached out to support her, but Xianxia had already reached out to hug Fang Yan's neck. The alluring smell of wheat became stronger and stronger. Xianxia's red lips blocked Fang Yan's lips. She kissed him passionately and explored Fang Yan's body. She panted and mumbled, "Fang Yan wants me. Fang Yan wants me. Wants you? Wants you for what?" Fang Yan couldn't react in time. What was this woman trying to do? Why did she want to sacrifice herself to seduce him? Is there a camera installed in the toilet? Were they trying to ruin his reputation to defeat him? These people's hearts were truly too vicious. Bam! Fang Yan exerted his strength and pushed Xianxia's body over. "Xianxia, what exactly are you trying to do?" Fang Yan shouted angrily. "What kind of person do you think I am? I think you are a man." Xianxia panted as she spoke. Under the illumination of the lights outside, her eyes sparkled and shone with a bewitching glow. "I don't want anything, I want you to do something. What do you want me to do?" Fang Yan was very vigilant. Every question he asked was very careful. "What do you think?" Xianxia pounced toward Fang Yan once again. She hugged Fang Yan's body, and her hot kiss once again drowned Fang Yan's rationality. Fang Yan finally calmed himself down. After hesitating for a while, he finally decided to reject Xianxia. Only then did he reach out to push Xianxia away. So soft. He pushed in the wrong position. Fang Yan hurriedly retracted his lecherous hands. Grabbing onto Xianxia's arms, he shouted, "That's enough, Xianxia, stop now. Stop talking too. Let's have a good talk. You don't like me?" "It's not that I don't like it, but it's not that I like it. You know, we've only known each other for a short time and we've only met a few times. I don't know you very well and you don't know me very well either. I know you won't like me, at least not now," Xianxia said, "but I think you should at least like me. Don't all men like coquettish women? Don't you think I'm coquettish enough?" "I think you're already very coquettish. I just feel that I'm not a casual person. Let go of me first, don't be rash." Xianxia's eyes started to turn misty. She stared at Fang Yan and asked, "You think I'm dirty?" "I don't mean that. Why would I think you're dirty? You're clean and the perfume you use smells good. I just feel that we don't have to do this." Fang Yan persuaded her seriously. "Fang Yan, do you believe me? I've fallen in love with you," Xianxia said. The lyrics of a song came to Fang Yan's mind. "Love comes too fast, like a tornado can't leave the circle of the storm in time. I can't think anymore, I can't think anymore, I can't. Jay-Cho was right, Fang Yan really couldn't. "I know you won't believe it and I find it hard to believe too. Do you remember the first time we met?" "Remember?" Fang Yan nodded. "When I went to the hospital, the security guard didn't let me in. You helped me inform the security guard. At that time I thought that this woman was quite kind. I knew you before I came to Huaqing. Jiang Shangxin said, I wanted to see what kind of person could steal the woman that Jiang Zhulu liked. At that time Jiang Zhulu was still very important in my heart. Because you know me, that's why you helped me out? Even if I didn't know you, I would still help you. Jiang Shangxin said. Because it was just a matter of a sentence. Our family education taught us to know when and what to do to establish a good image of ourselves. Of course, I didn't have any good feelings for you at that time. When I saw you and Jiang Zhulu walking together, I didn't like you very much either. I feel that you and Jiang Zhulu are the same kind of person, and Jiang Zhulu happens to be the kind of person that I hate very much. Fang Yan, how dark must a person's heart be to be able to lay a murderous hand on his wife's father? I can't answer this question. Fang Yan said, because I've never thought of such a thing. I know that you've been guarding against me. From the moment I appeared in front of you, you've been worried that I would set a trap. Fang Yan smiled and said, I've been bullied so often that I'm really scared. But to me, tonight is the happiest day I've had in all these years. I've never trusted someone so much and I've never relied on someone so much. It feels so good to be able to say whatever I want. It feels so good to be able to scold whoever I want and not have to worry about being found out. Do you think that I threw the wine bottle at the stage because I was drunk? I know your skills and I know that the gorilla can't possibly defeat you. I just wanted to enjoy the feeling of being protected. I know that you will definitely protect me. I also thought of pretending that I don't know you. Fang Yan, you won't. Jiang Shangxin said, you're too smart, so you won't do such a stupid thing. You know that I'm here to look for you to represent a chance, so you won't let me be bullied, you won't let me be hurt. I'm not a particularly complicated man. Fang Yan's explanation was rather weak. I just can't bear to see a man bully a woman. Even so, I'm still very happy. I'm happy to see you stand up for me, happy to see you want to take me away, and even happy to see you fight for me. Do you think I'm very perverted? I know men like kind-hearted women, but I don't care whether the gorilla's arm is injured or not. I don't even care if he's dead or alive. How can a woman like me care about an insignificant guy's life or death? When you refused the old man's request for a duel, I felt that I was about to fall in love with you. When you said that if I wanted to leave, who could make me stay, I felt that I had already fallen in love with you. Women have the genes to attach themselves to the strong. A soft woman hopes to find a man with a strong character, and a strong woman hopes to find a more domineering man to conquer her. I've never seen such a man's charm. Even when you held me in your arms and fought with the crowd, I didn't feel the slightest bit nervous. I just hoped that it wouldn't stop and that it wouldn't end so quickly. Unfortunately, the opponent was too weak and the battle ended too quickly. Fang Yan, what I've experienced tonight is something that I've never experienced before. I have everything. I have a luxury car, I have a mansion, I have an endless amount of money, and I have a family background that people admire and look up to. But I just want to be like other women and enjoy my man selflessly sacrificing himself for me, fighting with others to protect me. Fang Yan, only you can fulfill my wish. Tell me, what reason do I have not to fall in love with you? I know that I'm very outstanding. Fang Yan tried hard to choose his words and said, but this kind of thing is not up to me to control. I didn't come here to seduce you with ulterior motives. I was born with a face that could easily make people fall in love with me. Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yan seriously. She really wanted to know how this man could say such a thing with a serious face. I can understand your feelings and I sympathize with your situation. Fang Yan also looked into Jiang Shangxin's eyes and said, but our relationship doesn't need to be maintained by this kind of thing. Fang Yan, I won't let you take responsibility. If I do it, I want to take responsibility, Fang Yan said. If you insist on taking responsibility, but I don't want to take responsibility for you, so it's better not to do it. Otherwise, you'll be in a dilemma. Fang Yan took out a tissue from his pocket and carefully wiped the tears from the corners of Jiang Shangxin's eyes. He said, my father has been gone for 3 years, but this matter still seems like it happened yesterday. I can understand how you feel at this moment. I really do understand. If you need my help, you can call my number. I believe that it won't be difficult for you to get my number. From tonight onward, we will be friends. Life is not easy, but we still have to grit our teeth and persevere. Because no one knows if there will be a turning point waiting for us. Fang Yan patted Jiang Shangxin's shoulder like an old friend, opened the door of the cubicle and turned to leave. Jiang Shangxin's back leaned against the wall of the toilet weakly, and her body fell limply to the ground. She squatted on the ground and covered her face with her hands. Big drops of tears flowed out from the gaps between her slender fingers. I've already taken so much initiative, but that man remained unmoved. So embarrassing. Chapter 550. Screech. The black Mercedes-Benz stopped at the entrance of the courtyard house. Li Yun opened the door and got off. She carried her handbag and quickly walked inside. There were two old men playing chess in the courtyard. They didn't even look at her when she came in. Li Yun knew that they were bodyguards brought by Jiang Junling from Beijing. They had high status and extraordinary strength. It was said that they could tell if a person was in danger from the sound of their footsteps. Li Yun walked to the door of the main room and pushed it open. Jiang Junling was sitting on the sofa in the living room and drinking tea. He was reading a novel with great interest. Li Yun walked to the general's side and sat down. She filled his teacup with tea and asked with a smile, "What are you reading, General?" Zheng Guofan's Ice Mirror. Jiang Junling said with a smile. Some people say that Zheng Guofan, a famous minister of the Qing dynasty, had 13 sets of knowledge. Only one set has been passed down. In fact, there are 2 sets. The other is Zheng Guofan's fortune-telling knowledge, Ice Mirror. I don't like family letters and I don't read anyone's. But I like Ice Mirror. Jiang Junling closed the book in his hand and said, Zheng Guofan also has a set of fortune-telling mnemonics. Evil depends on the eyes and nose. True or false depends on the lips. Fame depends on one's spirit. Wealth depends on one's spirit. Ideas depend on the fingers and claws. Disturbances depend on the feet. If you want to see the order, it's all in the language. Auntie, how about I help you read your fortune? Li Yun's mind raced. She wondered why Jiang Junling called her so late at night. In the past, he would personally visit her place if there was anything to discuss with her to show his respect for her. But today he was different. This change was quite obvious. Also, why did he want to read her fortune? Li Yun smiled and said, "It's a military order. Don't laugh at me. I'm old and my fate is set. I'm just guarding the shop and tidying up the house for you old generals. What's there to look at? Those are your men's business." Jiang Junling smiled and said, "That's not necessarily true. Some people are noble because of their mother and some are noble because of their son. Maybe Sister Li is noble because she has a good daughter. Who can say for sure what happens in life?" Li Yun was shocked and asked anxiously, "Military orders, did Xianxia get into trouble?" Jiang Junling picked up the teacup and took a sip. After he carefully savored the fragrance of the premium white tea, he smiled and said, "Xianxia has been obedient since she was young. How could she have caused any trouble? Auntie, don't worry." Jiang Junling told Li Yun not to worry, but Li Yun became even more worried. She cautiously looked at Jiang Junling and asked, "Military orders. Although your 4th uncle is no longer here, it doesn't change the fact that we are still a family. What I eat, what I wear, what I use, everything I have is given to me by the Jiang family. If there's anything, don't hide it from me. You must tell me immediately. Xianxia is too young and she has been through too much during this period of time. Especially her father's death." A sharp ray of light flashed past Jiang Junling's eyes, but he returned to his gentle and indifferent smile. Li Yun acted as if she didn't know what had happened and said worriedly, "I'm really afraid that this child will fall sick if she continues like this. I'm thinking of letting her rest abroad for a period of time." General Ling nodded and said, "You've had a good rest. She should have a good rest. Let's go to France and stay there for 2 years. Of course we can't just do nothing. Our Jiang family isn't a good-for-nothing who only knows how to eat and work. Let her study in France. She can also help me with some things when she comes back." Li Yun nodded and said, "Thank you for the military orders. Only you as her brother would treat her well sincerely. I will make the arrangements and send her to France as soon as possible." Jiang Junling nodded and took a paper bag from the coffee table in front of him. He handed it over and said, "There are a few photos inside. Feel free to flip through them when you have nothing to do." Li Yun took the paper bag and was about to open it when Jiang Junling glanced over and said, "Auntie, it's getting late. You should go back and rest." Li Yun closed the paper bag and said, "All right, I'll go back first. The military orders to rest early as well. Young people shouldn't stay up too late." When Li Yun walked into the courtyard, the 2 old men were still playing chess. She could only see their hands moving but not the sound of a chess piece landing. The autumn night was slightly chilly, so it probably wouldn't affect them at all. Li Yun entered the car and opened the bag with the help of the lights in the car. There were a few photos in the bag. They were photos of Xianxia lying in the arms of a man. When she flipped to the last photo and saw the man's face clearly, her face instantly turned as white as a sheet. She took a few deep breaths and suppressed the anger in her heart. She took out her cell phone from the bag and dialed a number. Then she said in an extremely calm voice, "Xianxia, make a trip home. I have something to discuss with you." Li Yun started the car engine. The car rumbled as it sped into the boundless night. Jiang Zhulu walked out of the room and looked at Jiang Junling. "Master, are we going to let this matter go?" Jiang Junling looked at Jiang Zhulu and asked with a smile, "Can we let this matter go?" Jiang Zhulu muttered to himself for a long time and said, "To be honest, I don't feel very good about it. I think any man who had experienced something like this would probably feel the same way as me. I can understand." Jiang Junling nodded and said. He stood up and patted Jiang Zhuliu's shoulder. "I'm completely on your side on this matter." "Thank you, Master." Jiang Zhulu smiled and said. "But Zhulu, even though Xianxia is the daughter of the Jiang family, she is now the daughter-in-law of the Jiang family. There are some things that require both of you to communicate properly. As her brother, I can't say too much, right?" Jiang Zhulu nodded and said, "I understand. Sorry to trouble you this time." Jiang Junling walked toward the backyard and said, "Go back and rest early. I'm tired too." "Goodbye, Master." Jiang Zhulu smiled as he sent him off. When Jiang Xianxia returned home, his mother, Li Yun, was sitting in the living room looking at a report. Jiang Xianxia walked to Li Yun and sat down. He asked, "Did Jiang Junling ask you to speak to me on his behalf? I thought he would talk to me personally." Li Yun tidied up the report in her hands and placed it on the table. She looked at Jiang Xianxia and asked, "Since you had already predicted this outcome, why did you still do such a thing?" "What did I do?" Jiang Xianxia asked in return. Li Yun frowned slightly and said, "Xianxia, you are a married woman and Jiang Zhuliu's woman. Your marriage was approved by the old master of the Jiang family. Now that you are in the arms of another man, where do you want the Jiang family's reputation to be?" Jiang Xianxia looked at Li Yun with reddened eyes and said, "Mom, you keep asking me about the reputation of the Jiang family. What would the old master think if he knew about it? What would he do if Jiang Junling became prejudiced against us? But have you ever thought about my feelings? They are the people who killed my father and I still have to call them brother and hubby. I did it, but I am really tired. I am so tired, I just want to talk to someone. So, if not, I will go crazy." Li Yun's eyes turned red as she watched her daughter cry. She went forward and hugged her daughter. She said gently, "Xianxia, I know you feel wronged. But it's fine if you say it in front of me. I have already asked Secretary Li to help you get a visa to study in France. You can leave tomorrow." "Mom, this is what they want." Li Yun said firmly, "This is also what I want." When Fang Yan returned home, Lu Chaoge was reading a book on the sofa in the living room. The sounds of Qin Ying and Fang Yingying fighting and shouting could be heard from the backyard. Ever since Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan came, Qin Ying's second spring in martial arts training had been awakened. When Qin Ying fought with Fang Yan, there was almost no chance of him winning. It was a kind of suppression that made one feel hopeless. However, when he fought with Fang Yingying, he was still full of fighting spirit even though he lost more than he won. As long as he had the time, he would drag Fang Yingying into a few rounds. Lu Chaoge put down the fashion magazine in her hands. She looked at Fang Yan, who was walking over, and asked, "Have you eaten?" Fang Yan thought for a while and said, "I think I haven't eaten yet." Lu Chaoge quickly stood up and said, "I'll make a bowl of noodles for you." "No need." Fang Yan pressed Lu Chaoge's shoulders and didn't let her get up. He said, "You've already taken a bath, haven't you?" Lu Chaoge's cheeks suddenly turned pink. She said, "Why do you ask this?" She thought of the embarrassing scene when she was lying on the ground and couldn't move, and Fang Yan suddenly rushed in from the balcony. Seeing Lu Chaoge's embarrassed expression, Fang Yan realized that his question might cause others to misunderstand. He quickly explained, "I didn't mean that. I just wanted to say that you've already taken a bath, so don't make yourself smell like oil. I'll go make a bowl of noodles myself. You sit down." Lu Chaoge nodded and looked straight at the red mark on Fang Yan's neck. She asked, "What's wrong with your neck?" "Neck?" Fang Yan reached out and touched it. He didn't find anything strange. He took out his cell phone from his pocket and turned on the selfie function. He immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. When he was pulled into the toilet by Zhang Xianxia seemed to have kissed his neck. As a result, a red lipstick mark was left on his Adam's apple. This. Fang Yan tried hard to stay calm and said, "Maybe I was bitten by a mosquito. It's okay. I'll just go upstairs and apply some toilet water." Lu Chaoga sighed softly. She took out a wet wipe from the tissue box on the table and walked to Fang Yan. She carefully wiped the lipstick mark on Fang Yan's neck with the wet wipe and said, "If you have a social engagement outside, remember to check your appearance when you come back. Otherwise your wife will misunderstand." Chapter 551. A bowl of cold noodles and a few side dishes. This was the dinner that Fang Yan had prepared for himself. On his way home from work, Zhang Xianxia intercepted him and dragged him to the bar. He quarreled with others and fought with them. In the end he was almost molested by her. Everything that he had done was simply too exhausting for him. However, on the way home Fang Yan did not feel hungry at all. He was still digesting the scene that had just happened at the bar. Zhang Xianxia's figure was really good, her breasts were really soft, her body was really fragrant, her mouth was really sweet, and her tongue was really nimble. Of course his was not bad either. Furthermore, women who acted coquettishly were the most troublesome. Zhang Xianxia's delicate and alluring appearance was indeed tempting and captivating. However, that was a woman from the Jiang family, Jiang Zhuliu's wife. One could not take advantage of a friend's wife, but one could ride on an enemy's wife? I can't. Fang Yan screamed in his heart. He poured sesame seeds, poured chili sauce, and mixed chopped green onions and coriander. Fang Yan slurped down half a bowl of noodles in one go. He drank a mouthful of water and digested it for a few minutes. He lowered his head and quickly finished the remaining half of the bowl of noodles. Fang Yan took out a tissue to wipe his mouth. As he drank the water he told Lu Chaoga about what had happened when Zhang Xianxia intercepted him. To Fang Yan, Lu Chaoga was a woman that he trusted wholeheartedly. There were some things that he could not even tell Yuan Rou, but he could tell them to Lu Chaoga. Of course, he emphasized on Zhang Xianxia's conflicted and painful inner world and tragic experience. As for the part where Zhang Xianxia seduced and forced him, he simply mentioned that there was a kiss mark on my neck because Zhang Xianxia had kissed me forcefully. However, he was a person with strong self-control and would not allow himself to be taken away so easily. It had to be said that teacher Fang Yan was a man full of integrity. After listening to Fang Yan's story, Lu Chaoga had a sad expression on her face. She said softly, "It wasn't easy for her to be born in such a family. There are some things that men take for granted, but it's too difficult for women. It's not easy. The rich and powerful are as deep as the sea. Some small fish and shrimps are just food for the big sharks. They don't have any chance or ability to resist fate. What do you want to do?" Lu Chaoga turned around and asked Fang Yan. Fang Yan smiled and said, "It should be what she wants to do. You know, this matter is not up to me. I hope she can be braver," Lu Chaoga said. Fang Yan nodded and said, "Just like you back then. I don't want her to be like me." Lu Chaoga shook her head and said, "I've sacrificed too much." Fang Yan sighed and patted Lu Chaoga's shoulder lightly. He said, "With me around things will get better in the future." Clang. Fang Yingying pushed open the back door and walked in. When he saw Lu Chaoga in Fang Yan's arms he quickly covered his eyes and shouted, I didn't see anything." Lu Chaoga got up from Fang Yan's arms and tidied her hair and clothes. Fang Yan stared at Fang Yingying coldly and said, "Get in here." Thus Fang Yingying lay on the ground and rolled toward the living room. He was like a meatball. Fang Yingying rolled until he was in front of Fang Yan before he got up. He looked at Fang Yan with a flattering expression and said, "Junior Martial Uncle, I want to discuss something with you." "I knew you had something to ask of me. Junior Martial Uncle, it's not a request, it's a discussion. Say it, what is it?" Fang Yan asked. "Can you give me a day off tomorrow?" Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoga and asked, "What do you want to do?" "I called and asked, Sun Li has a day off tomorrow. I want to take a day off to treat her to a meal." Fang Yingying lowered his head and said shyly. "Go ahead," Lu Chaoga said. "I'm resting at home tomorrow, I won't be going to the company." "Thank you, Sister Lu," Fang Yingying shouted excitedly. "Sister Lu, there's something else I want to discuss with you. What is it? Can I borrow your BMW tomorrow? I'm using that car, Feng Yan said angrily. This bastard, he dares to steal my car? Lu Chaoga thought about it and said, that BMW is used by your martial uncle. Then forget it, Feng Yingying said regretfully. But you can use my GMC RV or Ferrari. There's a red Ferrari in the garage. I think the color is too dazzling, so I haven't driven it much. If you like, you can drive it out. Thank you, Sister Lu, you're really my sister. Feng Yingying was so excited that he wanted to hug Lu Chaoga, but after noticing Feng Yan's murderous look, he quickly turned around and hugged Feng Yan tightly in his arms. Junior Martial Uncle, you're really my junior martial uncle. Let go. Oh, Feng Yingying let go of Feng Yan's shoulders and said, Junior Martial Uncle, there's a fragrance on you. It's a woman's fragrance. Strange, it's not Sister Lu's scent. Sister Lu doesn't use perfume. I feel a little bloated, hero. Come out with me to digest your food. Feng Yingying turned around and ran away. The flight to France was at 8 in the morning, which made Jiang Shangxin's heart turn cold. How much did they hate her that they were so anxious to send her overseas? Jiang Shangxin didn't sleep the entire night and dragged her luggage out of the house at 5 in the morning. Since it was inevitable to leave, what was there to miss? It was better to leave. This city made her feel suffocated. The sky was still dark and there was a faint silhouette of the moon in the sky. The chauffeur was waiting in the courtyard, and when he saw Jiang Shangxin come out, he quickly ran over to help drag the luggage and said with a smile, Miss, the chairman asked me to send you to the airport. Jiang Shangxin originally wanted to reject him. Since things had already been done to such an extent, what was the point of such a small favor? However, she couldn't even be bothered to reject him. She allowed the chauffeur to place the luggage in the trunk, then opened the car door and invited her into the car. After Shangxin entered the car, she closed her eyes and only then did she feel tired. After talking to her mother, she started to pack her luggage in the room. Actually, there weren't many pieces of luggage. To them, everything could be used as replacements, so why would they need to carry it all the way to Paris? A few sets of clothes and a little bear. She searched carefully and realized that the little bear was actually one of the few items that her father, Feng Xing, had left for her. Her father had given it to her on her 8th birthday. He said that he had bought it as a present because he saw that the little bear resembled her. At that time, she was very unhappy and felt that she didn't resemble the little bear at all. She was so beautiful, but why was she just a little bear in her father's eyes? Now that she saw it, she realized that her father was right. She was a bear, an unlucky bear. Miss, do you want to listen to music? The chauffeur asked gently. Jiang Shangxin didn't reply. She didn't want to talk. Even though she knew that it was rude to be angry with the chauffeur and that it went against her upbringing, she just didn't want to talk. The chauffeur didn't speak anymore and started the car slowly when he didn't get a reply from Jiang Shangxin. When the car drove out of the courtyard, the curtains of a bedroom on the 2nd floor were pulled open, and a black figure appeared in the middle of the window. Shangxin, don't blame me. Li Yun sighed softly. I know that this kind of life is too hard for you, but what you are doing is too dangerous. Go out, go far away and never come back. Huaqing was still very empty and quiet in the morning. The journey from the villa area in the Dongjiang district to the airport was especially smooth, and they didn't encounter many cars. There wasn't even a single pedestrian. Once they drove out of the coastal road, they would reach the airport directly after getting on the highway. The car had just entered the highway when Jiang Shangxin, who had been resting with her eyes closed, suddenly opened her eyes. Go back. Jiang Shangxin said. Miss. The chauffeur was in a difficult position. If we go back now, we will miss the flight. I said go back. Jiang Shangxin said with a firm attitude. Her tone was also getting worse. Miss, the chairman asked me to send you to the airport. Jiang Shangxin sneered and said, she sent you to monitor me on my way to the airport, right? Miss, you are putting me in a difficult position. You are the one who is putting me in a difficult position. Jiang Shangxin suddenly raised her voice. I said go back. Go back immediately. If not, I will open the car door and jump out. The chauffeur quickly locked all the car doors to prevent Shangxin from going crazy and jumping out of the car. Do you think I can't get out like this? Do you think I can't come back because of this? So what if you send me to the airport? So what if you send me to Paris? Jiang Shangxin said with a face full of disdain, go back. Turn the car back. The chauffeur drove the car forward and at the same time he took out his cell phone and dialed a number. Chairman, Miss wants to go back. Pass the phone to her. Li Yun's voice came from the phone. The chauffeur passed the cell phone over and said, Miss, the chairman wants you to answer the phone. Xianxia took the cell phone from him and smashed it against the car window. Crack. The cell phone was smashed into pieces, but there was only a light scratch on the car window. This was Li Yun's car, and it was a custom-made bulletproof car from Ford. Not to mention this degree of damage, even bullets and ordinary bombs would not be able to open it. Xianxia stared at the chauffeur with reddened eyes and shouted with all her strength, Go back. Screech. The chauffeur slammed on the brakes and the car stopped at the side of the highway. The chauffeur unfastened the seatbelt and turned to look at Xianxia with a smile. He said, Miss, you can either go to Paris or go to hell. What's your choice? The chauffeur held a gun in his hand and aimed it at Xianxia's head. Chapter 552. What did it mean to be utterly disheartened? It was how Xianxia was feeling at this moment. She widened her eyes and stared at the chauffeur in disbelief. She looked at the gun that the chauffeur was pointing at her head. She could not believe that her mother's chauffeur would point a gun at her just because she did not want to go to Paris. Or rather, if she insisted on not going, he would really use this gun to send her to hell. Go to heaven or hell. Is this what a mother is supposed to say to her children? Her mother, the woman who kept saying that she loved her, was this how she treated her? Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. What else could she do to make people feel hopeless? It was getting harder and harder to breathe. She clenched her fists so tightly that her fingernails dug into her flesh and started to bleed. Xianxia tried her best not to cry. She was a high and mighty missy, how could she cry in front of a chauffeur? However, it was still difficult for her to stop her eyes from turning red and gradually becoming moist. She clenched her teeth and gave herself some courage, but her voice was still trembling. She stared at the chauffeur and said, Was this also her order? Miss, I have said that you are putting me in a difficult position. A woman like you is like a reincarnated fairy from heaven. You have taken all the good things, what else is there to be dissatisfied about? There are some things that you have to turn a blind eye to. Isn't it great if you brush me off and I brush you off? Why do you have to find trouble for yourself and others? Xianxia ignored the chauffeur's advice and stared at him. If I did not go to Paris, would you really shoot me? That's right. The chauffeur nodded. I have said that I will either go to Paris or hell. What does she take me for? What does she take me for? Xianxia muttered to herself. The truth was right in front of her, but she was still unwilling to believe it. She could not believe that the only person she could rely on in this world, her closest family, would treat her in this way. Miss, why do you have to put the chairman in a difficult position? The chauffeur sighed. I am afraid that she cannot make the decision for some things. You mean that my mother did not ask you to do this to me? Xianxia shouted agitatedly. Her heart was suddenly filled with joy and happiness. This was really a ridiculous thing. It was the same thing, and she was also being pointed at her head. However, as long as the mastermind was not her own mother, she had 10,000 reasons to be happy. Because if that was the case, she would have completely lost all hope in this world. The driver sighed and said, Miss, your question is really unnecessary. You are a member of the Jiang family. The chairman is also a member of the Jiang family. How can I not be a member of the Jiang family? We are all members of the Jiang family. The Jiang family. Xianxia instantly understood. The driver was someone from the Jiang family. He was a chess piece that Jiang Junling or someone else from the Jiang family had placed by Li Yun's side. However, his mother had been cautious all her life. How could she have made such a huge mistake? Her most trusted driver was Jiang Jia, an undercover agent sent by Jiang Jia? Aren't you afraid? Xianxia looked at the chauffeur and asked. Scared? What are you afraid of? Aren't you afraid that my mom will fire you for exposing your identity in front of me? Are you going to fire him? The driver grinned. There was a hint of disdain and sympathy in his smile. Miss, do you think that the chairman doesn't know my identity? Do you think that she has never suspected me before? However, with the chairman's intelligence, even if she knows my real identity, she will pretend that nothing has happened. Not only that, she will also get closer to me and trust me. This is her style of doing things. Miss, do you think that's the case? Xianxia was speechless. She knew that the chauffeur was right. Even if her mother knew that the chauffeur was an undercover agent, she would still keep this secret to herself. Otherwise, what else could she do? If she made a big fuss, the Jiang family would only think that she was an idiot. If she fired the chauffeur, the family would be even more wary of her and plant more spies around her. Everything and everyone was under the control of the Jiang family. The Jiang family was like a huge net that covered the top of one's head. While it provided protection, one could not break free from their shackles. Miss, have you made your choice? The chauffeur looked at Zhang Xianxin and asked. To the airport. Zhang Xianxin replied. The chauffeur grinned again and said, Thank you, miss, for understanding the difficulties of servants like us. The chauffeur kept the gun in his hand and was about to start the engine to send Zhang Xianxin to the airport when the phone in his pocket rang. When he picked up the call, his expression turned serious and he said, Understood, I will wait for you by the roadside. Who's coming over? Zhang Xianxin asked anxiously. The chauffeur smiled and said, Miss, you will know very soon. Zhang Xianxin knew that the chauffeur was an undercover agent and that he would not care about her identity. She did not have the mood to continue asking. She looked like she was asking to be humiliated. After waiting quietly for a few minutes, a black Mercedes-Benz approached slowly. The Mercedes-Benz stopped by the roadside. The back door opened and a familiar face appeared in front of Zhang Xianxin. Bam! The car door opened and the cool morning breeze swept in. Zhang Xianxin could not help but wrap the sweater around her body. She could feel the chill of autumn. Jiang Zhulu sat beside Zhang Xianxin. When he saw that Zhang Xianxin was holding onto the collar of the sweater, he smiled and said, The weather is getting cold, you must take care of yourself. You must take good care of yourself when you are out alone. Zhang Xianxin stared at Zhang Zhulu warily and asked, What are you doing here? Zhang Zhulu laughed and said, Xianxin, do you know that your question is very cute? I don't know. Zhang Zhulu reached out to grab Zhang Xianxin's petite hand and forcefully pulled it away. Zhang Zhulu grabbed it again. When Zhang Xianxin wanted to pull it away again, Zhang Zhulu exerted force, and Xianxin's palm seemed to be clamped down by an iron clamp. It hurts. Zhang Zhu, let go of me. Zhang Xianxin shouted. Zhang Zhulu lifted the back of Xianxin's hand to the corner of his lips and kissed it. Chuckling, he said, Xianxin, you are my wife, my legitimate wife. If you can hug and hug other men, what's wrong with us holding hands as a married couple? Since Zhang Zhulu had taken the initiative to speak, Zhang Xianxin no longer had any reservations. She stared at Zhang Zhulu fiercely and said, Are you here to vent your anger? Do you feel that you have been betrayed? What anger? I just feel that as a husband I should send my wife off since she is going overseas. Otherwise, wouldn't it seem like I am too heartless? Should I say thank you? Silly girl, why would a family say thank you? Zhang Zhulu reached out a finger and touched the tip of Zhang Xianxin's nose. He said, However, you didn't even inform your husband that you are going overseas. If someone didn't tell me, I wouldn't even know about this. Aren't you being too disrespectful to your husband? Isn't this what you guys want? Zhang Xianxin said with a face full of sarcasm. Who are we? Zhang Zhulu smiled and asked. Zhang Xianxin knew that she had misspoken. If it was in the past, she would have explained that she had said it unintentionally. However, she felt that there was no need to do so now. You know better than me who we are. It seems like you are filled with indignation. Zhang Zhulu smiled and said. What about you? Zhang Xianxin stared at Zhang Zhulu with a piercing gaze and said, You gave away half of the Jiang family's assets, and you crawled at the feet of the general's order like a dog. Zhang Zhu, where's your pride? Where is your dignity as a man? It doesn't feel good to be a dog, does it? Zhang Zhulu glanced at the chauffeur and said, Please wait outside. I have some private things to say to my wife. The chauffeur didn't reject him. He pushed the car door open and walked out. It does feel bad. Zhang Zhulu looked at Zhang Xianxin and said. His handsome features were slightly distorted. His eyes were sunken and bloodshot. During the time when his father was away, his life had indeed not been smooth. Although he had tried his best to prop up the Jiang family was no longer the Jiang family from before. As for the four big families in Huaqing, no one would take the Jiang family into account anymore, right? If I could be a human, who would be willing to be a dog? Jiang Zhuliu's lips curled up, but it wasn't the arrogant and sunny smile he used to have. It was mockery and self-denial. But what should I do if I don't want to be a dog? My father has walked a dead end and left me with such a mess. What should I do if I don't cling to the Jiang family? Will Fang Yan let me off? Will Lu Chaoga let me off? Will Lanshan Valley let me off? And Lu Shu, he is also a dog. He is a mad dog kept by Fang Yan. Will he let me off? Jiang Shangxin, who am I? I am Jiang Zhulu, one of the 4 young masters in Huaqing. I am the smartest man in Huaqing. Why do I have to bow down to another man? Why do I have to suck up to another man? Why do I have to live like a dog? It is for the Jiang family, for me and for you. Jiang Zhulu stuffed one of Shangxin's fingers into his mouth and sucked it gently with his tongue. He said, Shangxin, why can't you understand? Why can't you understand my painstaking efforts? Jiang Zhulu exerted force with his teeth, causing Shangxin to let out a shrill scream. Fresh blood flowed out of Jiang Zhulu's mouth, staining his chin and the white shirt he was wearing. Chapter 553. Even though the walls of the car were soundproof, Lu Jiang could still hear Shangxin's screams. Lu Jiang frowned slightly and wondered if Jiang Zhulu was in a hurry to commit murder on the side of the highway because his wife had cheated on him. Of course, even if Jiang Zhulu really did that, Lu Jiang would not jump out with a sense of justice. Jiang Zhulu was highly regarded by Jiang Junling and was also the most handy chess piece for Jiang Junling to fight against Fang Yan in Huaqing. What if Jiang Zhulu's actions were secretly instructed by Jiang Junling? People like them were already blind and deaf. They had sold half of their souls to the god of fortune and the other half to the devil. There was only one word in their dictionary: loyalty. There were few cars on the highway. Occasionally, a car would flash its headlights and pass by them. However, it was just a quick glance and they did not know what was happening here. Lu Jiang could not see clearly what was happening in the car and he did not want to know too much. Sometimes knowing the truth was a burden and a burden meant trouble. Son of a bitch, he cursed in a low voice. He took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and lit it up. Then he walked in the opposite direction of the airport. He was probably not needed here anymore, right? Pain. It was a heart-wrenching pain. It was not an exaggeration to say that the fingers were linked to the heart. The pain spread from the finger to the heart and then to the rest of her body. Jiang Shangxin's body trembled violently. She felt that the bone of her index finger must have been bitten off by Jiang Zhulu. Jiang Shangxin did not dare to struggle because her finger was still in Jiang Zhulu's mouth. His 2 rows of teeth were like 2 rows of nails that pierced deeply into the flesh and bone of her finger. She also tried to pull her finger out, but it was impossible to do so other than bringing unbearable pain to her. Unless she was willing to pull her finger off and give it to Jiang Zhulu for breakfast. Looking at how he was greedily drinking blood, he must be extremely hungry. Let go of me. Jiang Zhu, let go of me. Jiang Shangxin clenched her teeth and perspired profusely. She had been pampered since she was young and had bodyguards protecting her. Even a cold or fever was a big deal. She had never suffered such pain before. She felt like she was going to die. She really wished that she was already dead. Let you go? How can I bear to let you off? Jiang Zhulu bit Jiang Shangxin's finger as a sinister smile appeared on his face. Shangxin, I love you so much. I love you more than I love Lu Chaoga. How could I let you go just like that? I know you despise me now. I know you hate me to the core. You want to eat my flesh and drink my blood. Who asked me to kill my father-in-law with my own hands? However, Shangxin, I truly love you. I pursued Lu Chaoga because I needed the integrity of the Longtu group. I needed her to never be able to open her mouth and say that she wanted to split the Longtu group into 2. That was the protection of interests, not for myself but for the glory of the Jiang family. But Shangxin, I have really fallen in love with you. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Even you can't believe it, right? Jiang Zhulu was such a selfish ghost, such a hypocrite, such a perverted killer. How could he fall in love with a woman? How could he possibly entrust his heart to a woman? Jiang Shangxin stared at Jiang Zhulu in disbelief. At that moment she even forgot about the wounds and pain on her body. Jiang Zhulu had really fallen in love with her? Jiang Zhulu came to confess to her? When the pain hit her like a tidal wave again, Jiang Shangxin's mental state returned to normal. She stared at Jiang Zhulu with gritted teeth and sneered. Jiang Zhulu, you are really a piece of trash. You still have the cheek to tell me that you love me at this stage? If you love me, would you kill my father? Which man in this world would treat his wife's father like this? Is this how you show your love? Jiang Zhulu was finally willing to spit out Jiang Shangxin's finger. Jiang Shangxin's arm was trembling, and the joints of her finger were badly mutilated. The pain was unbearable and she didn't know if the bones inside were broken. Jiang Shangxin carefully retracted her finger, afraid that Jiang Zhulu would touch it again. Even she didn't dare to touch it. Jiang Zhulu took out a white handkerchief from his pocket and said, "Wrap it up." Jiang Shangxin looked at Jiang Zhulu as if she was looking at a devil. He had just bitten her finger until it bled like a demonic beast, but in the blink of an eye he turned into a passionate man who took out a handkerchief and asked her to wrap it up. Tell me, if a man like this isn't a pervert, what kind of man can be called a pervert?" When Jiang Zhulu saw that Shangxin was staring at him with her eyes wide open but did not reach out to take the silk handkerchief from him, Jiang Zhulu reached out and pulled Shangxin's injured hand over to him. With a pitiful voice he said, "When will you learn to take care of yourself?" Jiang Shangxin leaned toward the car door with all her might and said, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." However, she wasn't as strong as Jiang Zhulu and that hand was hers. She didn't have the courage to have an intense tug-of-war with Jiang Zhulu. Jiang Zhulu was very skilled at wrapping up the wound. He used the handkerchief to wrap up Shangxin's injured finger cleanly. He even tied a beautiful bow at the end which made him look like he was showing off. "My skills aren't bad, right?" Jiang Zhulu chuckled as he looked at his work seriously. Jiang Shangxin stared at Jiang Zhulu warily and said, "Jiang Zhulu, what exactly are you trying to do?" "What exactly am I trying to do?" Jiang Zhulu thought about it seriously and said, "Didn't I say just now? I just want to see you and let you understand my feelings for you." Jiang Zhulu held Shangxin's injured hand between his two hands and looked at her affectionately. He said, "Shangxin, do you know how upset I felt when I saw the photo of you and Fang Yan hugging each other? At that time I was about to go crazy. I wanted to destroy the entire world. I wondered why that moment wasn't the end of the world." "Shangxin, the difficulties are only temporary. Believe me, as long as the Jiang family gets through this hurdle, I have the confidence to revive the Jiang family. By then, you will be able to live a glamorous life as the young mistress of the Jiang family again. Shangxin, can you give me a little more time?" Jiang Zhulu. Jiang Shangxin didn't know how to communicate with Jiang Zhulu anymore. This person was so crazy that she didn't even know which sentence was true and which was fake. However, even if what he said was true, could they go back to how they were before? Even if Jiang Zhulu still loved her, could she fall in love with him again? As she was thinking about this question, another figure became clearer and clearer in her mind. Men were passionate and sentimental while women were loyal and heartless. When a woman fell in love with someone, it meant that she had truly fallen in love. When a woman stopped loving someone, it meant that she would never love again. It was completely impossible for them to be together. It turned out that she already had an answer in her heart. "Shu." Jiang Zhulu stuck out a finger to block Jiang Shangxin's lips and said with a smile, "You don't have to say anything and you don't have to explain anything. Think about it properly after you settle down in France. Think about your future and think about our future. I think that you will be able to have a clear answer about our relationship then." Since Jiang Zhulu didn't allow her to speak, Jiang Shangxin didn't say anything either. She didn't want to say anything in the first place. Jiang Zhulu leaned forward and wanted to plant a kiss on Shangxin's forehead. Jiang Shangxin leaned back stiffly and used her elbow to push against Jiang Zhulu's chest to prevent him from getting closer. Jiang Zhulu grinned and didn't want to force her. He looked at Jiang Shangxin with a gentle smile and said, "Go on, take care." Jiang Shangxin still didn't say anything. Jiang Zhulu took a deep look at Jiang Shangxin before he pulled the car door open and got out. Jiang Shangxin heaved a sigh of relief. This devil had finally left. Bam! The car door was pulled open again. Jiang Zhulu looked at Jiang Shangxin's nervous expression and reminded her with a smile, "Send me a message when you arrive." This caused Shangxin to widen her eyes and stare fixedly at his every move. "Goodbye." Bang! The car door was closed again. When the car door opened again, it was Lu Jiang who had returned to the driver's seat. Lu Jiang turned around and looked at Jiang Shangxin. His gaze shifted to her injured finger joint and he asked, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Jiang Shangxin replied like a wandering spirit. After experiencing the scene just now, she felt that half of her soul had escaped. "Let's set off then." Lu Jiang smiled and started the car again. Jiang Zhulu stood at the highway junction and watched the luxury car drive away with Jiang Shangxin. The smile on his face became cruel. I really don't like to do things like this. There's no technical content at all. As he spoke, he took out his cell phone from his pocket and dialed a number. He said, the target has boarded the plane and is expected to arrive at 6 o'clock tonight. I'll do it when she arrives in France. I'll do it cleanly and beautifully. Chapter 554. Tang Yong hesitated and finally took the initiative to greet the beautiful lady sitting beside him. Miss? Jiang Shangxin turned a deaf ear to him and stared blankly at the gloomy world outside the window. Did she really leave just like that? Why did she feel so indignant? Paris was a city that was both familiar and unfamiliar to her. When she came back from Paris, the plane landed at the Yanjing International Airport. She stood on the spiral staircase and swore that she would never leave Wuxia again. She could only find the freedom and enjoyment that she wanted in her own country. Wuxia's people were so familiar, Wuxia's food was so delicious, Wuxia's friends were so warm, and Wuxia's relatives were so indifferent. When a person leaves his hometown, no amount of resources can make up for it. But why did she have to leave again? And in such a humiliating way? Jiang Shangxin had a faint worry that she might not be able to come back after going to Paris. She couldn't come back if Jiang Junling didn't want her to come back. She couldn't come back after Jiang Junling took over the Jiang family. Feng Yan. A familiar figure appeared in Jiang Shangxin's mind again. Why did she think of him at this time? Was it because of the regret in her heart and the anger and humiliation after being rejected? Goodbye, Feng Yan. Jiang Shangxin said to the empty tarmac outside. You idiot, why did you reject me? I know that you don't like me even if it was just once. Tang Yong swallowed his saliva and started to gather the strength to speak again. Miss. Jiang Shangxin finally came back to her senses. She turned to look at the young man beside her and asked, You called me? Yes. Tang Yong nodded and looked at Jiang Shangxin. Miss, are you all right? I'm fine. Jiang Shangxin replied. But your finger is bleeding. Tang Yong pointed at Jiang Shangxin's palm and said. Jiang Shangxin lowered her head to take a look and said, I'm fine. Although Jiang Zhulu had tied a silk handkerchief around the wound on her finger, he didn't apply any ointment on it. He also didn't use any medical bandages to bandage it, so the wound hadn't healed yet. The silk handkerchief was soaked in blood, and it was currently dripping down to her feet. If it was in the past, she would have screamed for help if such a wound appeared on her body. But now she was calm as if nothing had happened. Compared to the damage he had suffered in his heart, this little pain was nothing. This won't do, Tang Yong said. He waved his hand and shouted, Stewardess, please get the first aid kit. The stewardess immediately came over and asked, Sir, how can I help you? Tang Yong pointed at Jiang Shangxin and said, Please take the first aid kit, this lady's finger is injured. When the air stewardess saw Jiang Shangxin's finger, she hurriedly said, Miss, are you all right? Do you need us to take you to the doctor? I'm fine. Jiang Shangxin glanced at the air stewardess. Bandage it. All right. Please wait a moment. The air stewardess turned around to get the first aid kit. Jiang Shangxin wanted to untie the blood-red silk handkerchief, but it was tied too tightly by Jiang Zhulu, and it was really difficult to untie it with one hand. Tang Yong looked at Jiang Shangxin's actions and said, Let me help you. No need. Jiang Shangxin rejected him. It's okay. We have to help each other when we are out. Who hasn't met with difficulties? As Tang Yong spoke, he lifted the small table in front of him and placed Jiang Shangxin's arm on it. Then he deftly untied the bow on the silk handkerchief. The air stewardess came over with the first aid kit. Tang Yong stretched out his hand and said, Cotton ball. Medicinal wine. Sir, are you a doctor? The air stewardess opened the first aid kit and handed over the things that Tang Yong needed. My father is a doctor and I learned a few things from him. Tang Yong smiled shyly and looked like an honest man. That's great. The air stewardess smiled and complimented him. Being a doctor is really a good profession. Thank you. Tang Yong nodded and smiled at the air stewardess. After the silk handkerchief was untied and thrown into the trash bag, Tang Yong used the cotton ball to clean up the blood stains on the wound, and the original appearance of the finger was revealed. Looking at the finger that was so badly mutilated that the bone was almost exposed, Tang Yong said in surprise, "Oh my God, what exactly happened? Miss, your finger is seriously injured. If it gets inflamed, the consequences will be dire. If the bone necrosis occurs, the finger may need to be amputated. Do you know that?" "I know," Zhang Xianxia said. She didn't know. She didn't even know the extent of her injury. She didn't want to open the silk handkerchief to take a look. Subconsciously, she didn't want to touch the handkerchief that was wrapped around the wound. How good would it be if she could sever her relationship with Jiang Zhulu this way? "Then why did you?" Tang Yong originally wanted to say that since she knew, why didn't she go to the hospital to bandage the wound before coming back? However, when he saw the woman's cold expression and hostile gaze, he swallowed the words that he was about to blurt out. This was a woman with a story. Furthermore, she had a strong sense of self-defense and didn't want anyone to touch her easily. Tang Yong helped Xianxia apply a thick layer of ointment on her finger. Then he used the gauze to bandage the wound carefully. It could be seen that Jiang Zhulu did have a certain level of medical foundation. His bandaging technique was simple and professional. Furthermore, the tightness was appropriate and wouldn't cause one to feel any pain. Also, the gauze wouldn't fall off with a casual tug. After Tang Yong tied a knot in the gauze, he said, "All right. Do you feel any discomfort? If not, I can help you adjust the bandage." "There's no need." Jiang Xianxia retracted her arm. The air stewardess packed up the medical kit and the trash bag. Then she looked at Tang Yong and said, "Sir, thank you very much." "You're welcome." Tang Yong smiled and replied. After the air stewardess left, Tang Yong looked at Jiang Xianxia, who had cast her gaze out of the window again. He said, "Can't bear to leave this city?" "I'm not in a good mood, you don't have to talk to me," Jiang Xianxia said coldly. "I know that you mean well, but I feel sorry for brushing off your enthusiasm. Also, I feel very tired." Tang Yong rubbed his nose awkwardly and said, "I'm sorry, I just want to sit together with you. Furthermore, we are going to Paris together. We can talk to each other on the journey and we can also be friends when we reach Paris." "Thank you," Jiang Xianxia said. Tang Yong knew that Jiang Xianxia wasn't willing to talk, so he took out a newspaper from the back pocket of his seat and started reading it. Lu Jiang stood at the entrance of the airport and took out his cell phone from his pocket to make a call. "Has Xianxia left?" Li Yun's voice sounded from the other end of the line. "She has left," Lu Jiang replied. "Miss is not in a good mood." There was silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, a voice sounded again, "Come back, it's been hard on you." "Jiang Zhulu is here to see Mississippi," Lu Jiang said. Although he was a spy that the Jiang family had arranged to be by Li Yun's side, Li Yun was also clear about his identity. However, he still had to fulfill his role as the chairman's chauffeur before everyone fell out with each other. "Jiang Zhulu?" Li Yun's voice was obviously raised and her tone was a little sharp. "What is he doing there?" "He said that he wanted to say goodbye to Mississippi. I wasn't in the car so I don't know what they talked about." "You mean that he didn't see Xianxia at the airport?" "At the entrance of the expressway to the airport," Lu Jiang replied. There was silence on the other end of the line again. After a long time, a crisp cracking sound could be heard. Li Yun hung up the phone. Obviously, Jiang Zhuyo's actions had infuriated Li Yun. Lu Jiang kept his cell phone. Just when he was about to walk toward the parking lot, a man hurriedly walked toward him from behind. Lu Jiang's sense of danger was extremely strong, and his first reaction was to dodge to the side of the road. Foosh! A cold object flew to the back of his neck. When he reached out to touch it, he felt a sharp pain on his neck as if it had been pricked by a needle. "This is Beast Snake." A hoarse and weird voice sounded beside his ear. He turned around but did not see anyone. When he turned around again, a dark and skinny man wearing a black tracksuit and a hoodie was standing in front of him. "Its mouth is like a needle so it can't eat meat. It only likes to drink blood." The dark and skinny man stared at Lu Jiang fiercely. "Of course, when it drinks blood, it naturally has to stab its long mouth into your flesh. If you don't get the antidote within an hour, you will bleed to death from all your orifices." "Who are you?" Lu Jiang asked fiercely. He reached into his pocket for his gun. "Before you take out your gun, you might as well look at your palm first," the dark and skinny man said. He knew what Lu Jiang wanted to do. Lu Jiang opened the palm of one of his hands, and countless fine red spots appeared on his palm. Those red spots appeared at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Very quickly his palm was filled with red spots and they spread toward his arm. What is this? Lu Jiang asked anxiously. Bee snake spots. The dark and skinny man smiled and said, bee snakes are very narcissistic. They like to turn their food into the same skin color as themselves. Oh yes, they are still lying on your neck and refuse to come down. Who exactly are you? What exactly do you want? Lu Jiang roared angrily. He was really furious. Who did I offend? I went to the airport to send someone off, but I met a psychopath. The key was that this psychopath was very lethal. He felt goosebumps all over his body when he was stared at with that kind of gaze. His back was gloomy as if he was being watched by a group of terrifying poisonous creatures. Where's Jiang Xianxia? The dark and skinny man asked aloud. Lu Jiang became calm instantly. He looked at the dark and skinny man and asked, are you Fang Yan's man? Come back and answer my question. Where's Jiang Xianxia? She has already boarded the plane. Lu Jiang said. Now that the plane has taken off, the dark and skinny man frowned and said, the plane can't take off and she can't go to Paris. Chapter 555. I'm sorry to inform all of you that the plane cannot take off due to air traffic control. Whoosh! There was a commotion in the cabin. Why is it air traffic control again? Who can tell me what is air traffic control? Don't ever fly with this airline again, they are always late. Can we turn on our cell phones and play some games? Anyway, the plane cannot take off anytime soon. Tang Yong saw Jiang Xianxia turn around and look at the air stewardess who was explaining to the passengers. He smiled and said, there are more and more air traffic control nowadays. No matter what the reason is, they always use air traffic control as an excuse. Seeing that Jiang Xianxia did not respond, Tang Yong continued, you have to drink more warm water. It's good for your body. Don't catch a cold at this time. If that happens, your body's immune system will be weakened and your wound may become infected. If you don't mind, I can accompany you to the hospital when we reach Paris. I have a friend who is a doctor there. Thank you. Jiang Xianxia thanked him again. It's okay. Miss, do you always keep people at arm's length? No. Jiang Xianxia replied. I pulled a man to the toilet in the bar and asked him to use me, but he rejected me. This happened last night. Tang Yong felt that there was no way to continue this topic. The man beside her stopped hitting on her and Jiang Xianxia finally got the peace that she wanted. She thought about her father's tragic death, her mother's heartlessness, her husband's viciousness and the huge and fickle family. At this moment, Jiang Xianxia's heart was as cold as ice. She felt that she was an orphan who was being abandoned by the whole world. As Jiang Xianxia was in the first-class cabin, the service she received was different. A stewardess rushed over and said, Miss, please wait for a moment, the plane will take off soon. Would you like something to drink? No need. Jiang Xianxia replied. Thank you. Jiang Xianxia asked for a blanket from the stewardess and got ready to lie down and rest. She did not sleep last night and encountered such an incident early in the morning. She felt extremely exhausted. Sir, what's the matter? Sir, you can't go in. The voice of the stewardess came from the door. I'm sorry, I'm looking for someone. Please make an exception, I'll leave soon. A familiar man's voice rang out. Xianxia widened her eyes in disbelief and stared at Fang Yan, who had appeared at the cabin door with a smile on his face. Jiang Xianxia's mouth moved and she wanted to say something. However, her eyes revealed her emotions first. Large drops of tears rolled down her cheeks as if something was stuck in her throat. Jiang Xianxia had never thought that there would be a man who would still think about her and be willing to do such a thing for her when her husband and mother had abandoned her. In order to keep his departing girlfriend, a man used all kinds of methods to delay the plane and then ran to the plane to confess in front of countless passengers. Wasn't this a classic scene in idol dramas? Fang Yan walked toward Jiang Xianxia step by step. Smiling, he asked, I'm not late. This made Xianxia's tears flow even more rapidly. Unable to speak, she could only shake her head to express her feelings. Follow me back. Fang Yan reached out his hand to Xianxia. Jiang Xianxia wiped her tears with her sleeves but did not agree to Fang Yan's request. I spent so much effort to chase after you. You won't reject me, right? Fang Yan smiled and said. There are so many people watching, how embarrassing would that be for me? Let's go, follow me back. We're not going to Paris. Zhang Xianxia was hesitant. What was the meaning of going back with Fang Yan? What was her relationship with Fang Yan? Would Fang Yan be able to provide her with a safe harbor? Furthermore, if she went back, what would Jiang Jialing think? What would Jiang Zhulu think? How would they treat her? Would they make things difficult for her mother? No matter how cold she was to her, she was still her mother. She was her only family member in this world. Fang Yan had already attracted everyone's attention the moment he appeared. When he reached out his hand to Zhang Xianxia, everyone's gaze became interested. It would be a good thing for them to watch a romantic drama when they were flying. Seeing that the female lead, Zhang Xianxia, was hesitant, the audience automatically played the role of a minor character in an idol drama. Everyone shouted together, "Follow him, follow him, follow him." All the passengers on the plane were shouting, and the shouts were getting louder and louder. Even the captain opened the cockpit door and looked over. Zhang Xianxia wiped her tears with a tissue and looked at Fang Yan with her red and swollen eyes. She said, "Fang Yan, thank you, but I can't go back." "Why can't you go back?" Fang Yan smiled and said, "If others don't care about your life, then don't let them control your life. The place you are going to is not a good place for you. Let's go, follow me back." Fang Yan, follow me back. Tang Yong looked at Fang Yan with an unhappy expression and said, "What's wrong with you? She doesn't want to go back, why must you force her?" Fang Yan glanced at Tang Yong and said, "I didn't force her, I just wanted her to have another choice. She has already made her choice. She doesn't want to go back," Tang Yong said with a gloomy face. He shouted at the air stewardess, "Air stewardess, what's going on now? Can the plane still fly? Anyone can barge in, what if there are terrorists? Is this the professionalism of the airline?" The air stewardess had no choice but to persuade him, "Sir, the plane is about to take off, can you please get off the plane immediately? You will affect the other passengers and the normal operation of the plane." Fang Yan looked at the air stewardess apologetically and said, I'm sorry, I'll leave after saying a few words, very soon. It won't take up too much of everyone's time." "Sir," Fang Yan reached out to Zhang Xianxia again and said, "I know that this is the only way out for you, I am willing to give you another choice." "Why?" Zhang Xianxia stared at Fang Yan and asked. "A friend of mine once said that if someone can give you a bowl of water when you are thirsty, if someone can give you a coat when you are cold, if someone reaches out a hand when someone is down and out, that bowl of water, coat and hand will be magnified infinitely and become her entire world. She also said that she has experienced what you have been through before and it makes one feel hopeless just thinking about it. Therefore she felt that I should take a step out and not wait for a pitiful woman to walk back on her own. Therefore I rushed over to look for you." Zhang Xianxia's eyes teared up again and she said, "That woman, is she Lu Chaoga?" Fang Yan nodded and said, "She is my friend and also a very great woman. I think that if there is a chance, the two of you will definitely become friends." Zhang Xianxia nodded and said, "She does understand me, you don't know how touched I was when you appeared at the cabin door. But Fang Yan, I can't go back. I can't only think about myself, I have to think about my family. She hurt me and protected me at the same time. I can't make her situation more difficult. I understand your concerns, but have you thought about it? When you reach Paris, who will guarantee your safety?" Zhang Xianxia stared at Fang Yan with her eyes wide open and said, "What do you mean? How is this possible?" She had already agreed to go to Paris and agreed to leave the familiar environment and life. She had even made up her mind to never return. Why were they still unwilling to let her go? Fang Yan sighed softly and said, "No one will believe a woman who has a change of heart. Since they have made the decision to let you leave, they must already know what happened in the bar, right?" Zhang Xianxia remained silent. Of course they knew. If they didn't know, why would they be in such a hurry to chase her out of Huaqing and to France? "Trust me one more time, just like last night." Fang Yan smiled gently and reached out his hand to Zhang Xianxia again. "I know what kind of people they are, I know them better than you." Zhang Xianxia was tempted. Looking at Fang Yan's eyes, she couldn't help but want to reach out her hand. "You idiot. She already said that she doesn't want to go back, what right do you have to threaten her?" Tang Yong shouted angrily and raised his hand to slap Fang Yan's arm. Fang Yan used the little dragon catcher hand to counterattack, but he didn't expect Tang Yong to dodge it. Fang Yan reached out again and Tang Yong actually punched Fang Yan's face. Bam. Fang Yan stabbed Tang Yong's eyes with his fingers like knives. Tang Yong's face was full of fear, but he didn't dodge it. He gritted his teeth and waited for Fang Yan's attack. If Fang Yan dared to hurt someone on the plane, he would be taken away by the air traffic police as a terrorist. Fang Yan's fingers clenched into a fist, and then his fist lightly hit Tang Yong's chest. Bam! Tang Yong flew backward as if he had been electrocuted, and his body landed heavily on the cabin. Fang Yan. Jiang Shangxin hurriedly stopped him and said, "He helped me just now." Although Jiang Shangxin didn't like Tang Yong's interruptions and attempts to strike up a conversation, he didn't hate him either. Furthermore, he was the one who helped to bandage his wound just now. He didn't want Fang Yan to hurt Tang Yong either. Fang Yan stared at Tang Yong with a sharp gaze and said, "Don't you find it strange? Why is there a martial arts expert sitting next to you? And he was so vehemently against me bringing you back." Jiang Shangxin stared at Tang Yong in shock as if she was looking at a poisonous scorpion. Chapter 556. Fang Yan's reminder was timely, but it was also fatal. Why did Tang Yong flirt with her again and again? Why was he not only proficient in medicine but also in martial arts? Why did he react so strongly when Fang Yan asked him to bring her back? Why? Jiang Shangxin knew that this could be a coincidence, and she was willing to believe that it was. However, she knew that it was impossible. Being born in such a family, she clearly knew how to deal with disobedient children. Tang Yong was another undercover agent from the Jiang family, and his mission was to send her to Paris safely, just like her mother's chauffeur, Lu Jiang. However, what would happen after they arrived in Paris? Were they really going to take action against her? Jiang Shangxin's face turned pale, and she felt that it was difficult for her to breathe. She did not want to think of them in the worst way, but the facts that were happening in front of her made her feel like her beliefs were collapsing. "Who are you?" Jiang Shangxin stared at Tang Yong and asked. Tang Yong stared at Fang Yan fiercely and said, "Who am I? I am just a stranger who pitied you and wanted to help you. So what if I know martial arts? Since ancient times, medicine and martial arts have always been inseparable. I learned medicine from my father, so I naturally learned some martial arts. This is the first time I heard that doing good deeds is also a form of conspiracy." Tang Yong looked at Jiang Shangxin with pity and said, "Miss, I checked the wound on your hand just now. Someone bit you, right? Who would do such a disgusting thing? That is a pervert, that is a lunatic. He has already treated you this way, how can you still believe his sweet words? If you go back with him, what if he treats you like this again? What if he does something even more cruel to you?" Fang Yan had already noticed the bandage on Shangxin's hand, but he did not know what kind of wound it was or what caused it. He thought that Jiang Shangxin was accidentally injured because they were too crazy in the bar last night. After all, Jiang Shangxin had not come out of the ladies' toilet when he parted ways with her. He was not sure what happened after that. Now that he heard Tang Yong say this, he realized that there was more to it than meets the eye. Jiang Shangxin was bitten by someone? Moreover, the guy in front of her with bad intentions wanted to push the blame to her. Fang Yan was furious. "I'm not a dog. Why would I bite people?" There was a tinge of doubt in Jiang Shangxin's eyes. Could it be that Tang Yong wasn't a spy that the Jiang family had arranged around her? Just as he said, he was just a stranger who wanted to help her. Jiang Shangxin was a top-notch beauty. She would often receive compliments from others or selfless help from some men. It wasn't entirely impossible for such a thing to happen. Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yan and then at Tang Yong. She didn't know what choice she should make next. The stewardess was a little anxious. She stood next to him and urged again, "Sir, the plane is about to take off. Please get off the plane immediately. Otherwise we will have to call the police." Disrupting flight safety was a serious crime. Fang Yan really didn't want to be taken away by the airport police. As such, he reached out to grab Jiang Shangxin's arm. "Get off the plane with me first. Then we will find a place for you to think about it. If you insist on leaving, I will help you buy a ticket for the next flight to France. If you are willing to stay, I will bring you to a safe place and guarantee your personal safety." When Tang Yong saw that Fang Yan wanted to pull him away, he swung his fist toward Fang Yan's face again. Huff! The punch was swift and fierce. Seemed like he had some foundation. Fang Yan took a step to the side and dodged Tang Yong's attack. Then he reached out with lightning speed and grabbed the vital acupuncture point on Tang Yong's wrist. Tang Yong's body instantly became paralyzed as if he had been electrocuted. If not for Fang Yan's help, he might not have been able to stand. Tang Yong struggled with all his might. However, he still couldn't escape from Fang Yan's grasp. An abnormal flush appeared on his face. Due to the pain, his facial features were deeply scrunched up. When the air stewardess saw that there was a fight, she hurriedly stopped them and said, "Sir, please stop. If not, I will call the police." Fang Yan smiled and said, "I did not fight. He wanted to hit me but I blocked him. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance cameras in the cabin." Of course, no matter what the other party's motive was, Fang Yan would not tangle with a small fry like Tang Yong. He let go of Tang Yong's arm. Tang Yong's body fell to the ground as if he had contracted osteochondrosis. "Sir." A few air stewardesses ran over to help Tang Yong up. Fang Yan grabbed Jiang Shangxin's wrist and said in a tough manner, "Get off the plane with me." Then he pulled Jiang Shangxin and walked out of the plane. Oh! The passengers on the plane cheered and applauded as if they had just witnessed the prince killing the evil dragon. The air stewardesses helped Tang Yong back to his seat and asked with concern, "Sir, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Tang Yong flung the air stewardess's hand away with a bad attitude and ran out of the cabin behind Fang Yan. After running for a few steps, his knees gave way and he fell to the ground again. What he did not know was that when Fang Yan grabbed the Jinlan acupoint on his wrist just now, he had used a small amount of force and destroyed the energy in his body. Once the energy in his body collapsed, it would be very difficult to gather energy. In the future, it would not be easy for him to even walk like a normal person, let alone practice martial arts. Perhaps Jiang Shangxin still had some doubts about Tang Yong's identity, but Fang Yan already knew the man's motive the moment he saw Tang Yong. His own kind understood a man the best. Tang Yong could not continue chasing after Fang Yan. He hurriedly took out his cell phone from his pocket and dialed a number. He said anxiously. Fang Yan snatched him away. "Idiot!" The man on the other side of the phone roared angrily. The air stewardesses came over to help Tang Yong up again. Tang Yong did not reject them and only asked them to send him off the plane. Now that his target had disappeared, there was no reason for him to go to Paris. Fang Yan dragged Jiang Shangxin's hand and rushed all the way to the resting area of the arrival hall. It was a little strenuous for Jiang Shangxin to run in her high heels. She only looked at Fang Yan after she had sat down on the sofa in the VIP room and asked, "Will there be any trouble?" Fang Yan said with absolute certainty, "If you go to Paris, then there will really be trouble." Jiang Shangxin stared at Fang Yan with bright eyes and bit her lips. She remained silent for a long time. Fang Yan looked at the wound on her finger and asked, "Jiang Zhulu was here? How do you know it was him?" Jiang Shangxin asked. Then she laughed bitterly and said, "That's right, who else could it be other than him? Jiang Zhulu is like a mad dog now. Are you all right?" Fang Yan asked. "I'm fine." Jiang Shangxin shook her head and said, "Thank you to the man just now, he was the one who helped me bandage it. I know that he is the person who arranged for the Jiang family to be by my side, but I still don't want to believe it. I really don't want to think of human nature in such a dirty and despicable way." Fang Yan nodded and said, "I'll help you take a look when we get back. You don't have to say anything, calm down and think about it. Stay here or go to Paris. Tell me when you have an answer." After he finished speaking, Fang Yan took out a newspaper and read it seriously. Jiang Shangxin looked at the way Fang Yan read the newspaper attentively and couldn't help but be entranced. "Why?" Jiang Shangxin asked. "Why what?" Fang Yan asked without raising his head. "Why did you save me?" "I remember that I already told you the reason on the plane," Fang Yan said. "Was it just because of sympathy? Did you misunderstand that I like you?" Fang Yan was shocked. "No, don't think too much." "Really? Not even a little bit. You'd better go to Paris." In the end, Jiang Shangxin decided to go back with Fang Yan. Just like what Fang Yan had said, she didn't need to let people who didn't care about their lives control her life. More importantly, her life wouldn't be guaranteed if she went to Paris. Everything was full of uncertainty when one was in a foreign country. If she was attacked on the streets or robbed, she would lose her life. If she stayed in the country, at least Fang Yan would be able to protect her. At least she still had Fang Yan to rely on. Life was like a dream, unpredictable and unpredictable. It was too ironic that an enemy of the past would become someone she could rely on in the future. When Fang Yan drove Jiang Shangxin back, a black Volkswagen SUV followed closely behind them. Fang Yan took a look at the rearview mirror and said, "They caught up with us." "They really trust me," Jiang Shangxin said with a fierce look. "Why?" Fang Yan asked. "Why do they want to kill you?" Jiang Shangxin glanced at Fang Yan and said, "Fang Yan, you are such a hypocrite. You didn't like me from the start, but you didn't reject me when I asked you to buy me a drink. I caused trouble in the bar and took the initiative to smash someone's head with a wine bottle, but you still tried your best to protect me from any harm. Didn't you want to get something to use against Zhang Junling from me? Now that the two of you are in a stalemate in Huaqing and neither of you can do anything to the other, it must be very painful, right?" Fang Yan didn't feel embarrassed that his privacy was exposed. He explained, "When I agreed to buy you a drink, I did have some thoughts about you. At that time I was still hoping that you might be able to mend your ways. If you were a mole, it would indeed be easier for me to deal with Zhang Junling. However, after I got to know you, I gave up on this idea and treated you as a friend. I am talking to you and interacting with you as a friend. I don't want to get anything from you, not even the slightest clue. If you still look at me like that at this time, it is the most serious insult to the word friend. If I expose some scandals about Zhang Junling to you, will you accept it?" "Yes," Fang Yan said. Chapter 557. Accept. Of course he had to accept. Just like what Jiang Shangxin had said, the reason why Fang Yan tried so hard to please Jiang Shangxin, treated her to drinks, helped her fight and even allowed her to touch his body, wasn't it because he wanted to get some juicy information from her? Now that he had come back to his senses, a promiscuous woman was more valuable than gold. Strange, why did the word promiscuous sound so weird when it was replaced with promiscuous woman? Could it be that a woman could not turn back after doing something wrong, or could it be that there was no turning back? Jiang Shangxin was willing to give Fang Yan some juicy information about his old rival Zhang Junling, which made Fang Yan very happy. Jiang Shangxin sneered and said, "Don't you think that I am insulting you now? We're already friends. If you still hide things from your friend, that is the most serious insult to the word friend." Fang Yan turned the car onto Kunshan Road and sped toward the city. The Volkswagen behind him sped up at the same time and followed closely behind the BMW. After a period of delay, it was already 9 o'clock in the morning. The cool breeze stopped, the fog dissipated and the veil in the sky was lifted. The red sun slowly rose into the sky, giving off a lazy glow. The number of cars on the road gradually increased, and even the suburbs of Huaqing began to glow with vitality. The Volkswagen continued to speed up until it was about to overtake the BMW that Fang Yan was in. The car windows were opened and the pitch-black muzzles were aimed at the BMW. Fang Yan didn't expect them to dare to make a move on the main road, and he didn't expect them to use guns. "Sit properly," Fang Yan shouted anxiously. As he warned Jiang Shangxin, he took the initiative to drive the BMW toward the Volkswagen beside him. Crash! The right side of the BMW hit the body of the Volkswagen. The Volkswagen couldn't bear the weight, and the front of the car lost its balance and swerved left and right. The body of the car also moved to the side. Bang bang bang, someone fired continuously. One of the bullets hit the rear of the BMW and more bullets flew out. Fang Yan increased the distance between the two cars, then he started the car again and hit the Volkswagen. Quang! The body of the Volkswagen caved in, and the car let out a roar as it moved towards the edge of the road. Fang Yan. He leaned Shangxin's body against the seat and gripped the seat belt tightly. Every time Fang Yan hit her, it made her dizzy. She was sitting on the side of the impact. If the car broke or disintegrated, she would be the first victim. Perhaps before Fang Yan killed the killer in the Volkswagen, he would have killed her first. "Sit still and don't move, it'll be fine." Fang Yan comforted her. He was not reckless, nor was he arrogant. The reason why he dared to use this BMW to crash into the Volkswagen again and was not afraid of knocking Shangxin, who was sitting beside him, to death, was because he knew the origin of this BMW. This BMW T9 series was specially ordered by Chaoyan Technology from BMW in Germany. The body of the car weighed 6 tons, and the important parts such as the door and the front were all made of rare metals. Although it was not bulletproof, it could prevent collisions and effectively protect the driver and the passengers in the cabin. This car had always been Lu Chaoga's car. After a series of attacks on Lu Chaoga, the Qin family did not dare to let Lu Chaoga take the risk of driving alone. As a result, the security personnel equipped him with a more sturdy and bulletproof custom-made GMC car. As Chaoyan technology developed rapidly and fiercely, Lu Chaoga's importance increased, and there were fewer and fewer opportunities to use this car. When Fang Yan returned to Huaqing, he naturally became the new owner of this BMW. Hearing Fang Yan's comforting words, Xianxia could only grip the seat belt tightly and completely entrust her life to Fang Yan. Quang, Fang Yan drove the BMW and crashed into it again. Quang. It was another fierce collision. The body of the Volkswagen became more and more damaged, and the side of the car door facing Fang Yan was already deeply indented. The car door cracked open and the shooter got up again and fired in the direction of Fang Yan and Xianxia. Bang! The bullet hit the car door and was reflected by the rare metal. At the same time, Fang Yan finally saw the shooter in the Volkswagen. He had shifty eyes and a huge mole on his chin. He was ugly to begin with, and the black mole made him look even more wretched. When the shooter wanted to continue shooting, Fang Yan drove the BMW and crashed into it again. Quang, 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 again and again, it moved horizontally and collided with the car again and again. The Volkswagen had already been forced to the edge of the road, and the car tilted unevenly to one side. Quang, Fang Yan stepped hard on the accelerator and slammed the car with the most force he had ever used. Quang, quang, quang. The body of the Volkswagen rolled and crashed into the ditch by the side of the road. Fang Yan did not stop the car. He drove away after crashing the Volkswagen into the ditch. Xianxia heaved a long sigh of relief. When she turned around, she could only see a thick cloud of smoke, and she could no longer see the Volkswagen that had been following closely behind them. It must have liked its new home very much. Are you all right? Fang Yan asked. I'm fine. Xianxia said dejectedly. Fang Yan, they wanted to kill me just now. They might have wanted to kill me too, Fang Yan said. No, they wanted to kill me, Xianxia said firmly. I know that they were aiming at me and I know this feeling very well. Is this what it feels like to be a family member? This is what it feels like to be a family member. It's really disappointing. What exactly have you mastered? Fang Yan asked. What? Xianxia asked. I mean, why did they do this to you? Don't you think that they were too anxious? What kind of information did Xianxia have on them? Why did they want to get rid of her without any regard for the consequences? Of course, they might want to get rid of him, but Fang Yan was very clear that the possibility of this happening was very low. If Jiang Junling wanted to get rid of Fang Yan, he would at least choose a slightly more secluded location and use a more obscure method. There was no need to play such a scary game in broad daylight. This was a murder, not a movie. They were very anxious, and they did not want Jiang Xianxia to come back or get together with him. In that case, there was only one explanation. What kind of secret did Jiang Xianxia have on her? He was really curious. Jiang Xianxia's expression changed slightly, but she did not answer Fang Yan's question. Even if they don't like you, even if they don't want to see you get together with me, they don't have to make it so obvious. They can take their time to deal with this matter and let you receive the punishment they want to give you. But not now, not this morning. Jiang Xianxia's mouth moved, but she did not say anything. Fang Yan patted her thigh, which was wrapped in jeans, and said with a smile, I know this is a difficult choice, so you don't have to tell me the answer. Jiang Xianxia lowered her head and did not say a word. No one knew what she was thinking. Be careful, Fang Yan suddenly shouted. As he shouted, he had already turned the steering wheel and rushed toward the ditch on the left side of the road. The car rumbled like a beast in heat. Screech, Fang Yan stepped on the brakes, but the car continued to slide forward. Screech, screech, screech. The front half of the car was suspended in the air, and the rear half of the car was caught by a tree stump by the roadside. A moment of carelessness and the car fell into the ditch by the roadside. Crack. A huge rock flew over their heads and landed on the stone ground far away, smashing into pieces. Rocks flew everywhere and the car was hit with a loud bang. Jiang Xianxia wanted to unbuckle the seatbelt, but Fang Yan stopped her and said, Don't move. Jiang Xianxia looked at Fang Yan doubtfully, but still decided to listen to his arrangements. She was not a woman who liked to rely on others, And she still maintained her independent personality even when facing a strong person like Jiang Zhulu. However, when she met Fang Yan, she always followed his instructions out of habit. Fang Yan did not get out of the car either. After he pressed the reverse gear, he tapped on the accelerator with the tip of his foot and reversed the BMW. With a sharp turn, the car stopped beautifully by the side of the road. Fang Yan unbuckled the seatbelt and held Jiang Shangxin's hand as he got out of the car. There was another black car parked by the side of the road, and an old man wearing a black shirt and a pair of sunglasses stood on the roof of the car with a bamboo pole in his hand. He looked at Fang Yan, who was walking toward them with a serious expression on his face. The fisherman. He was a close friend of Fang Yan's grandfather, Fang Hui, and a senior martial artist who had repeatedly given Fang Yan pointers. However, he had another identity, Jiang Junling's consecrator. If possible, Fang Yan really did not want to get into a fight with this old man whom he respected. However, looking at the situation today, he was afraid that the problem would not be solved without a fight. Fang Yan's head was throbbing and he wished he could dig a hole and hide in it. Fang Yan stood far away and looked at the fisherman, whose clothes were fluttering in the autumn wind. He chuckled and said, "Old master, are you fishing? If you want to fish, go to the sea. Why did you come to this place where there is no river or sea? Who said that you have to go to a place where there is a river and sea to fish? Didn't I give you a great white shark just now? That trick of luring the shark from the east was indeed not bad. But isn't it a little too much? I didn't provoke you, why did you lure the shark to eat me?" The fisherman looked at Fang Yan and said seriously, "Fang Yan, you are very smart and you should know the purpose of my trip. That trick just now was just a test. If you don't cooperate, the next shark will swallow you." "I know what you want," Fang Yan said angrily. "Fine, I promise you. Let her leave and I will stay to accompany you." Chapter 558. The fisherman's face darkened and he almost fell off the roof of the car due to Fang Yan's anger. "The person I want is Jiang Shangxin and the person I want to bring back is also Jiang Shangxin. Why should I keep you here? What do you mean by, you know what I want? If you really knew what I wanted, would you still say such stupid words that made me want to beat you up?" The fisherman glared at Fang Yan and shouted, "Fang Yan, don't be unreasonable. You are the unreasonable one." Fang Yan said, "If you are not unreasonable, why did you come here early in the morning to block the road? Why did you fish up a huge rock to smash my car? Do you know that if it wasn't for my quick reflexes and good driving skills, both of our lives would have been gone just now? You would have been a murderer by now. Even if we didn't die, it would be an attempted murder. As long as I make a call, the police can arrest you and bring you back to jail. If you meet some perverts, you will have to pick up the soap for them." "Pick up the soap? What soap?" The fisherman was old and never went online, so he didn't understand the deep meaning behind the words "pick up the soap." Fang Yan looked at the fisherman's old face and said, "But you don't have to worry about this problem probably. Those male prisoners won't be interested in you, right? They like young men with fair skin and tender flesh. You shameless person." The fisherman finally understood the close relationship between staying in jail and picking up the soap. He flew into a rage and wanted to fight with Fang Yan with the fishing rod in his hand. Fang Yan patted Jiang Shangxin's shoulder and said, "Leave, the person they want is me, I will go with them." Jiang Shangxin shook her head. She knew that the person they wanted was her. She was the person involved in the incident. If she were to leave just like that, where would Fang Yan be? Fang Yan was her benefactor, her savior. She, the person involved, had passed away and pushed all the problems, responsibilities and dangers onto Fang Yan. She could not do such a thing. She could do it in the past but not now. "Let's go." Fang Yan shouted angrily, "I'm not your man nor am I your lover. There's no need for you to stay and die with me. Even if you say so, I won't believe you. Let's go, let's not delay our men's negotiation." Fang Yan. The fisherman felt that it was better for him to make things clearer. Otherwise, this kid would keep pretending to be crazy. After dealing with him a few times, he could roughly gauge his kung fu, but his shamelessness was unfathomable. "You can go, but she has to stay." Fang Yan stared at the fisherman with wide eyes and said, "You are already so old and you still want to hit on a little girl? Are you okay now? All right, don't stand on top of the car and act like Superman." "The wind is strong and the waves are strong, you have to be careful not to hurt your waist." Fang Yan, don't slander me, I'm not that kind of person. Fang Yan had a serious expression on his face and said in an extremely serious tone, Senior, if you are really a kind and virtuous person, why would you do such a thing? You should know what kind of person Jiang Junling is, and you should also know what kind of punishment she will face when she returns. Senior, you are also from the underworld, so you should be familiar with the principles of martial arts. Don't bully others with martial arts, don't use your power to bully others. Senior, you can't be considered a real martial artist by doing this, right? If Xianxia really meets with misfortune after she returns, how can you bear to do so? Will your heart of martial arts not be damaged at all? One has no choice in the underworld. The fisherman was a little down inside. It's not convenient for me to tell you the reason, but I must bring this girl back. Fang Yan, I don't want to fight with you. You should leave. Fang Yan smiled and said, if I leave just like that, what kind of man would I be? Fang Yan held Xianxia's wrist and said, when I chased her back, I promised her that I would ensure her safety. It's not that a man's promise is worth 1,000 taels of gold. Which man hasn't lied to others before? I just feel that since I have said it in front of so many people, I can only try my best to fulfill it. I am a man who cares about his reputation. The rims of Jiang Xianxia's eyes were red, and large droplets of tears rolled down her cheeks. She wasn't a pretentious woman, but the feeling of being taken care of and protected by someone was really heartwarming. It was like a salmon fillet that had been dipped in a large amount of wasabi. When one bit into it, all the hair on her body stood up and tears gushed out. The more she endured, the more intense the feeling became. It was impossible to guard against. She didn't get this feeling from her father, because she had a cold relationship with her father since she was very young. She didn't get this feeling from her mother because her mother was very busy and didn't have time to take care of her. She didn't get this feeling from her husband either because she didn't need him when he could protect her, but when she needed him to protect her, he stood against her. She didn't get this feeling from her other relatives because they wouldn't offend Jiang Junling, who was very influential in the Jiang family, just for her. But she got it from Fang Yan, a man who was originally unrelated to her, or rather hostile to her. It was a very strange feeling and a very ridiculous thing. Jiang Xianxia pushed Fang Yan's palm away, took 2 steps forward, looked at the fisherman and said, let's go, I will go back with you. I know that my brother wants me, he is afraid. The fisherman looked at Jiang Xianxia and said, get in the car. Jiang Xianxia turned to look at Fang Yan and said, Fang Yan, you have done what you promised. I know that you are a man who is very guarded, and you won't believe anything that others say easily. But I still want to tell you, it's nice to meet you. It's really a very happy thing. Thank you. After Jiang Xianxia finished speaking, she walked toward the black car under the feet of the fisherman. Fang Yan grabbed Jiang Xianxia's arm and said, do you know what it means for you to go back with him? I know. Jiang Xianxia said, I know it even more clearly than you think. Fang Yan, I have known my brother for more than 20 years, I know what kind of person he is. Fang Yan shook his head and said, whether you know it or not, I will not let you go. You have to listen to me on this matter. Don't think that I am doing this for my own good. I don't feel good about not being able to bring you back. Fang Yan looked at the fisherman and said, either you let her go or I will go with her. The fisherman raised the fishing rod in his hand and said, since this is the case, let's see what we can do. Everyone says that you are the leader of the resurgence of the Taiji sect. I want to see if you can carry this burden. Put in some effort, don't embarrass your grandfather. Fang Yan sighed and said, Xianxia is just a weak and powerless woman. Do you have the heart to bring her back? You have practiced martial arts all your life, just to bully a woman with a pitiful background? The fisherman was furious. He shook the fish tank in his hand and a silk line wrapped around Fang Yan's neck. He scolded loudly and said, you rascal, you have broken my state of mind again. You are as despicable and shameless as your grandfather. The brave had no fear. During a battle, if one had a reason to win and a fighting spirit to win, then it would have an additional effect on oneself during the battle. Fang Yan deliberately made Xianxia sound pitiful and described her as a little rabbit that was being bullied by others. And the fisherman was the accomplice that was going to send the little rabbit into the big bad wolf's mouth. In this way, the fisherman would lose his righteous stance and the reason to win during the battle with Fang Yan. Breaking one's state of mind and weakening one's fighting spirit, Fang Yan was already invincible on the mental level before the battle even started. Most importantly, Could it be that Fang Yan's grandfather Fang Hui often did such things when he was fighting with others? From the fisherman's angry roar, it was obvious that this was not the first time he had suffered a loss in front of the Fang family. Swoosh! The fishing line was like a steel knife, and it quickly and silently coiled around Fang Yan's neck. If the fishing line wrapped around Fang Yan's neck, it would only take a gentle pull for his head to be chopped off. With a lift of his wrist, Fang Yan sent Xianxia's body far away. Xianxia only felt that she was lifted up by a gust of air, and her body was completely out of her control. By the time she landed, she was already a few meters away from the battlefield. At the same time that Fang Yan sent Xianxia away, he tapped the tip of his foot on the ground and leaped high into the air. He leaped very high and he stepped on the fishing line with his feet. His body rose into the air and charged toward the fisherman who was standing on the roof of the car. He waved his hands and attacked the fisherman 38 times in a row. His palms were silent, but they stirred up a strong airflow. The 38 palms merged together and formed a tornado-like storm, and the eye of the storm was the fisherman who was standing on the roof of the car. Cloud-expelling palm. Fang Yan's body spun 360 degrees in the air, and he smashed down in the fisherman's direction with a powerful aura. Clang! When the airflow swept past, a huge hole appeared where the fisherman was standing. The entire roof of the car sank into the car and the driver wanted to escape, but he was stuck between the car doors. However, the real target of the attack, the fisherman, was nowhere to be seen. Bam! When Fang Yan landed on the ground, he looked at the fisherman who was hanging upside down on the tree by the roadside. You are so young, but you can summon clouds and rain with a flip of your hand. You can create a storm in an instant and destroy everything. Not bad at all. The fisherman's expression was solemn, but there was a sense of gratification in his tone. He said, I don't have any grandchildren. Old man Fang has been arrogant all his life, but it's worth it to have a grandson like you. Chapter 559. Save me. The driver stuck his head out of the car door and half of his body was stuck in the car. His body was drenched in blood and there was a pool of blood on the ground. He must have been injured somewhere. He screamed and waved to Xianxia for help. There were only 4 people present: Fang Yan, the fisherman, Xianxia, and the driver. Fang Yan was fighting with the fisherman and could not be distracted to save him. He could only place his hopes on Xianxia. Xianxia looked at Fang Yan in a daze and did not notice the driver's cry for help. This was not the first time that Xianxia saw Fang Yan in action, but she was once again conquered by his skills. Her body was lifted by a gust of air just now, and when she reacted, she was already a few meters away. What was going on? What was going on when Fang Yan jumped so high and flew into the air like a bird? Furthermore, he could make a hole in the roof of the car with just one slap. Was this magic? Fang Yan slapped 38 times in a row. As his movements were too fast, Xianxia only saw one slap. In the eyes of the bystanders, the truth was that Fang Yan slapped the roof of the car and it sank into the car. Xianxia was not stupid. She knew that when Fang Yan was fighting with the fisherman, it was the best time for her to leave this place. However, Xianxia did not leave. She knew that Fang Yan was very powerful, but what if Fang Yan could not defeat the old fisherman? It was said that a woman in love had 0 IQ. This sentence was especially suitable for Xianxia. Because she was in love, she was more worried. When Fang Yan's tornado shot out, the fisherman knew that this kid's strength was shocking. That was the power of nature and it was irresistible. He could not block it or destroy it. The only way was to avoid it and choose to escape. He flicked his wrist and the fishing line in front of the fishing rod flew towards the big tree at the side. The thread wrapped around the tree trunk and he darted out like Spider-Man who had released a flying thread. Yes, the fisherman holding the fishing rod did look like the superhero created by Hollywood. Spider-Man. The fisherman's legs were in the air and his entire body was hanging on the tree trunk by the fishing line. The tree trunk creaked and groaned as if it would break at any moment. Fang Yan looked at the fisherman and said, I am very happy to be praised by the fisherman. Why don't we find a place to drink tea and chat instead of fighting and killing? The fisherman sneered and said, You are too arrogant. This is just the beginning. It's not even a warm-up and you're already thinking of running away? I'm not trying to escape. I'm just afraid that I'll hurt you. Fang Yan acted as if he was thinking for her sake. This is just a little bit of strength, not even 1/10 of my strength, and you keep praising me. You say that a tiger has no descendants and that heroes come from the young. I did not say that is a hero, but that is what you have shown. This is enough to make you gasp in surprise, which means that your power is far from mine. You can't beat me anyway, so there is no need for us to continue fighting, right? If I really hurt you, wouldn't my grandpa break my legs when I get back? You sharp-tongued brat, the fisherman shouted angrily. There is no need for your grandpa to break your legs. I will break your legs right now. As the fisherman spoke, he flicked his wrist. Crack. The branch that was hanging on the fishing line snapped and flew towards Fang Yan with its lush leaves. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The branches carried the sound of the wind and leaves fell as they flew. However, the falling leaves did not scatter with the wind. Instead, they flew towards Fang Yan like leaves. The saying flowers and leaves can hurt people was used to describe the experts of the Jianghu. Fang Yan's body spun on the spot. Drunken crane riding the wind made her look like a butterfly flying through the flowers. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The leaves pierced through his head, cheeks, ribs, crotch and other parts of his body, but they could not touch his body. In Jiang Shangxin's eyes, Fang Yan was strolling leisurely in the rain of leaves, and his posture was extremely carefree. Bang 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 bang. The leaves pierced the ground or the black car, and the body of the car was cut one after another. There were also 2 leaves that pierced the thighs of the driver of the black car. The driver could only watch as the leaves flew towards him, but he could not avoid them. He could only scream in pain again and again. The most terrible thing was the thick tree trunk that was thrown over by the silver line. They came crashing towards Fang Yan's head, as if they were attacking indiscriminately. Fang Yan did not avoid them, and his body rushed straight towards the tree trunk. When he was about to get close, he suddenly punched out. The tree trunk was like a lit firecracker, suddenly exploding with a series of crackling sounds. Fang Yan's body continued to rush forward, and he headed towards the fisherman who was pouncing towards him. The fisherman held the fishing rod in his hand, and the fishing rod pierced towards Fang Yan's chest like a long sword. What was even more strange was that the fishing line seemed to have eyes, and it actually wrapped around Fang Yan's body from behind. There was a spear in front of him and there was a net behind him. It was a pincer attack and it was difficult to advance or retreat. Fang Yan did not advance nor did he retreat. His body instantly stood still, and then he stepped on the yin and yang poles and he spun rapidly on the spot. Whoosh! The long line passed by him and it attacked where the fisherman was. The fishing rod in the fisherman's hand carried the faint sound of wind and thunder. It was not a long sword, but it had a murderous intent. The bamboo rod in the fisherman's hand trembled non-stop, as if it was too old to exert any strength. The spiritual snake flicked its tongue. Fang Yan's eyes, glabella, mouth, throat, chest and abdomen were all the targets of the fisherman's attack. If he was slightly careless, he would be stabbed to death. Fang Yan's charging speed did not decrease, and his footsteps were still steady and firm. The Taiji heart spun wildly, and the Taiji domain was also fully unleashed. In Fang Yan's mind, the bamboo rod in the fisherman's hand turned into a long red snake. The snake's head shook non-stop, but the snake's tail did not move. Hit the snake where it hurts. Fang Yan slashed his palm over. The snake's head was cut off, and the bamboo rod broke into 2. The fisherman stabbed again with the broken branch, and Fang Yan slashed again. Stabbed again. Slashed again. Stabbed again. Hacked again. The fisherman stabbed 7 times in a row, and Fang Yan slashed 7 times in a row. Every time he slashed, a section of the bamboo rod would break off. Very quickly, the bamboo rod was left with only a small section in the fisherman's hand. When Jiang Shangxin saw this, before the smile on her face could spread, she saw the fisherman raise the broken bamboo rod in his hand and stab it toward Fang Yan's chest. Fang Yan, Jiang Shangxin called out anxiously. Teach! The bamboo rod pierced into Fang Yan's body, and the bamboo rod in the fisherman's hand disappeared completely. Fang Yan, Jiang Shangxin was really frightened. She looked at the sharp bamboo rod that disappeared from Fang Yan's body in disbelief, and she was unwilling to believe what she had seen. Fang Yan stood up to protect her, and if Fang Yan was injured or killed because of this, then how could she continue to live? Her eyes were wet and big drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. Her body trembled violently and she wanted to rush up to check on Fang Yan's condition, but she realized that her legs did not have the strength to move at all. When her father took Feng Xing away, she was not by his side, and all she saw was his swollen corpse. Therefore she could not experience that kind of feeling. Now Feng Yan had died in front of her, and this kind of feeling was really heart-wrenching. The fisherman's attack was successful and he took a step back. Feng Yan stood where he was without moving. He looked at the fisherman and said, "You predicted this a long time ago?" The fisherman nodded and said, "I predicted that you could block 5 of my attacks, but I did not expect you to block 7. What about the 8th attack?" "There is no 8th attack," the fisherman said. "The first spurt of energy, the second weak, and the third exhausted. I could defy logic and practice until the 5th attack, and that was already my limit. If I can't kill someone with 3 attacks, then I'm an opponent. If I can't kill someone with 5 attacks, then I'm an expert. If I can't kill someone with 7 attacks, then I'm a killer. So you chose to give up?" Feng Yan asked. "No, I only chose to let you attack." The fisherman looked at Feng Yan and said, "When I made the 8th attack, I thought you would counterattack. You have the heart of Tai Chi, you could clearly see the trajectory of my attacks. When I made my move, you only needed to make a simple dragon-catching hand to snatch my sword, then take the opportunity to stab into my chest or the 3rd rib. Unfortunately, you didn't do that." Feng Yan smiled and said, "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because you are my grandpa's friend." Feng Yan said, "Although my grandpa always called you hanged ghost, I know that in his heart you are his friend." The fisherman's face was sad and he said, "What a pity, what a pity." "There's nothing to feel pity about," Feng Yan comforted him. "You are alive, he is also alive, isn't that worth getting you 2 drunk?" The fisherman laughed out loud. He patted Feng Yan's shoulder hard and said, "Well said. I'm alive and he's alive. Isn't that enough for us to get drunk?" The fisherman looked at Feng Yan and said, "Brat, I've lost shamelessly and I've lost wholeheartedly." Feng Yan pulled out the half of the bamboo stick stuck in his chest and offered it to the fisherman with both hands, saying, "Thank you for your guidance, senior." The fisherman's 8th attack was also seen by Feng Yan, so he used the heart of Tai Chi to grasp its flow. When the sword came, Feng Yan's body shifted and used his arm to catch the half of the bamboo stick, stopping the fisherman's attack. "How could there be any guidance? You won against me with your own skills, that's all," the fisherman said. He took the half of the bamboo stick that Feng Yan gave him, then stabbed it into his chest. Cha! The sound of flesh being pierced could be heard and fresh blood instantly stained his chest. "Senior." Feng Yan hurriedly stopped him. The fisherman waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, I won't die." The fisherman looked at Feng Yan meaningfully and said, "You were supposed to stab me, but since you weren't willing to do it, I had no choice but to do it for you." The fisherman looked at Xianxia, who was crying bitterly not far away, and said, "Let's go. Go. Leave with him and never come back. It's not worth it for you to come back." Chapter 560. In the old residence. In the small courtyard. The grass was green and the shadows of the trees were dense. There was the autumn breeze, the intoxicating fragrance of the flowers, and the sound of birds and insects. The autumn in the south was still humid and warm. The moist and warm weather nourished the flowers and plants, making them look especially energetic and pleasing. Jiang Junling liked osmanthus flowers, and there was an osmanthus tree planted in the courtyard where he lived. This tree had been around for some years and its branches were thick. It was covered with scars as if it had experienced hundreds of battles, big and small. It looked like a disabled veteran. However, the flowers that bloomed from this old tree had a strong fragrance. It was even more fragrant than the osmanthus tree in Jiang Junling's osmanthus courtyard in Yanjing. Jiang Junling stood under the osmanthus tree, reached out to pluck a bouquet and sniffed it. Because of the rain that had just fallen, the stamens of the flowers were still stained with water. When Jiang Junling placed the osmanthus flower at the tip of his nose, the water droplets dripped onto his face and body. Jiang Junling took a deep breath and looked extremely satisfied. He smiled and said, "It is said that the oranges in the south are not sweet in the north, but the osmanthus is so fragrant whether it is in the south or the north." Li Yun stood next to Jiang Junling and said, "The military order is a person who has tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex, so he felt that this osmanthus is fragrant. If those uncouth men were to smell it, How would they be able to distinguish between the southern and northern osmanthus fragrance? Jiang Junling nodded and said, there are people who can appreciate flowers, but there must be flowers to appreciate. Jiang Junling looked at Li Yun gently and asked in a teasing voice, Auntie, do you think we can appreciate flowers today? Li Yun's face was pale and she said softly, military order. Xianxia is still young and doesn't understand. This time she is in the wrong. I will definitely teach her a lesson. I will definitely send her abroad and never let her come back. I will personally send her there. Jiang Junling shook his head and sighed, saying, men are sentimental and sentimental, while women are devoted and heartless. There's no turning back. A woman who has a change of heart will never turn back. Military order. Li Yun hurried forward and tugged at Jiang Junling's sleeve. With a pleading look on her face she said, military order, please let Xianxia off this time. I beg you, please let Xianxia off this time. I'll agree to any of your conditions. I'm willing to be your slave and do whatever you want me to do. I'm begging you, let Xianxia off this time, all right? Jiang Junling reached out his hand to caress Li Yun's worried face and softly said, Auntie, you are a good woman, but you fell into the hands of a man like fourth uncle. This is fate's injustice to you, and the Jiang family has let you down. So, fate and the Jiang family want to give you some compensation. Thus, you are now in control of the best business of the generals, and you have become a strong woman who is admired and sought after by countless people. Dazzling and glorious. Auntie, you are also a capable woman. Your capabilities make it hard for others to bear to hurt you even the slightest bit. This is also the reason why I agreed to you sending Xianxia overseas. Because I know that you only have this one daughter by your side. Both of you depend on each other for survival, and your relationship is something that I want to protect. So no matter how much Xianxia angers or hurts me, I won't stoop to her level for your sake. You are right, she is still a child and she doesn't know any better. But Auntie, there must be a limit to everything. Jiang Junling's fingers slid downwards, caressing Li Yun's face, neck and finally stopping at her chest. Li Yun's body trembled violently, but she gritted her teeth and stood there with her chest out, allowing Jiang Junling to do whatever he wanted. I should stop now that I'm here, Jiang Junling said. He reached out and rubbed the soft flesh on Xianxia's chest gently, saying, if I continue I will be crossing the line. Jiang Junling pulled his hand away from Li Yun's chest and said with a cold expression, how can you cross the line? Military order. At this moment, the wooden door of the courtyard was pushed open from the outside. The fisherman walked in with his hand on his chest, which was bleeding profusely. Half of his body was already stained red with blood. The two old men who were focused on playing chess on the eaves of the courtyard glanced in their direction, but immediately looked away. It was as if nothing in this world was more important than playing chess. Jiang Junling walked over quickly, looked at the fisherman with concern and asked, how did you get hurt so badly? He then shouted at the man in black at the door, why are you standing there? Hurry up and bandage the priest's wound. The group of people started to get busy, but the fisherman looked at Jiang Junling apologetically and said, eldest young master, I've disappointed you. I wasn't able to help you bring him back. Li Yun was slightly happy, but when she saw that Jiang Junling was looking at her from the corner of his eye, she quickly kept her thoughts to herself. You're already injured to this extent, why do you still need to bring him back? Jiang Junling smiled and comforted her. Don't worry, just focus on recuperating. We'll go and find him after you've recovered. I wasn't injured by anyone, the fisherman said. Then how did you get injured? I injured myself, the fisherman said honestly. Jiang Junling's face turned gloomy, and a murderous look flashed across his eyes. His expression twisted and he sneered, what does priest mean by this? You're worried that you can't explain yourself, so you resorted to this trick? Am I, Jiang Junling, so petty that I'm not trusted by priest? Eldest young master, you've misunderstood, the fisherman said. I attacked with all my might, but he blocked 7 of my attacks. I stabbed the 8th time, but he could hurt me, but he didn't. So, I stabbed myself with a sword. I stabbed myself on his behalf. Jiang Junling's expression softened a bit and he said, he's also someone who knows how to buy people's hearts. He did something like this because he wanted you to remember his favor. If he didn't hurt you, then he wouldn't have hurt you, so why did you have to stab yourself? Why did you make yourself so bloody? Elder, you take care of yourself. I'm sorry about this, eldest young master, the fisherman said. Violated the vow we made back then. Zhang Junling waved his hand and said, I didn't save your family to make you work for me. I told you a long time ago that if you wanted to, you could stay by my side and help me. If you didn't want to, you could always go back and live out your remaining years. Why would I hold on to such a small matter from back then? Not to mention I'm in the wrong here. I know your relationship with the Fong family, but I still asked you to go out and bring people. Isn't that putting you in a difficult position? Eldest young master, Zhang Junling waved his hand and said, all right, that's enough. Talking hurts your spirit. Go back to your room and rest. I'll get someone to send you some tonics. Rest well and put aside all other matters for now. The fisherman bowed deeply to Zhang Junling, turned around and walked out of the courtyard. Zhang Junling stared at the fisherman's hunched back, and a cold look flickered in his eyes. Li Yun noticed the General Ling's hand. The fresh and delicate osmanthus flowers in his hand had been squeezed until juice flowed out. In the courtyard, the fragrance of the osmanthus flowers was even stronger. Zhang Junling threw the flower dregs on the ground, and Li Yun hurriedly took a towel and passed it to him. Zhang Junling wiped his hands and walked toward the house. He said, give Jiang Shangxin a call and say, yes, say that you're being held captive. Military order. Zhang Junling suddenly turned around, smiled and said, you're not lying, I'm indeed prepared to do that. Fang Yan didn't bring Jiang Shangxin back to Lu Chaoga's villa. Although Lu Chaoga was full of sympathy for Jiang Shangxin's encounter, and she was also part of the reason why Fang Yan chased after someone with a speeding car early in the morning, the woman in the family was a tiger. One mountain couldn't accommodate two tigers unless one was a male and the other was a female. Lu Chaoga wouldn't like Jiang Shangxin's arrival, nor would she like the arrival of any other woman. That was Lu Chaoga's home and she was the absolute ruler of that family. She wouldn't wish for another person to challenge her authority. Just like how no woman would wish for her authority to be challenged by an outsider. Fang Yan pondered for a while and brought Jiang Shangxin to the Underground Research Institute of Chaoyan Science and Technology. This was a place that was both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Ever since he came here once 3 years ago, Fang Yan hadn't been here again. It was still the same inconspicuous signboard, the same inconspicuous courtyard and the same small gray building. However, the small building today was no longer the small building from 3 years ago, and the Chaoyan Science and Technology today was no longer the Chaoyan Science and Technology from 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Chaoyan Science and Technology had just started. When Lu Chaoga said that she wanted to build a business empire for Fang Yan, it was like a laughing stock. However, 3 years later, with the help of the Rubik's Cube technology, Chaoyan Science and Technology's products were sold all over the country and even the world. Chaoyan Science and Technology's Little Flame had become one of the most valuable trademarks in Wuxia. The current Chaoyan Science and Technology was a business empire, and it was also a giant aircraft carrier that was hard to ignore. Zhang Junling was guarding Huaqing, but it was difficult for him to achieve anything. How much power did Chaoyan exert behind the scenes? Chaoyan had adopted a defensive measure that was loose on the outside but tight on the inside. There were only 2 men guarding the security booth at the entrance, but a violent force could be felt from inside the small courtyard. Fang Yan could sense the presence of those people just as they could sense his arrival. Not only that, if there was a particularly dangerous enemy, the entire small courtyard would be enveloped by electric fences. No one could even think of escaping from the courtyard. The Qin family had attached enough importance to Chaoyan Science and Technology and had equipped them with their most advanced technology and defensive measures. Because they had informed Lu Chaoga in advance, the 2 of them didn't encounter any obstruction when they entered. Other than confirming their identities at the entrance of the security booth. It was also the first time that Jiang Shangxin had come to the Chaoyan Research Institute. She sized up the legendary small courtyard with a face full of curiosity and said, so this is the most mysterious underground research institute of Chaoyan Science and Technology. Aren't you afraid that I'll reveal the secret of this place by bringing me in? Fang Yan looked at her with a smile and said, then just take it that I'm blind. Chapter 561. Fang Yan was not at all worried that Jiang Shangxin would reveal the secrets that she had seen, because it was impossible for her to see any secrets. The Chaoyan Underground Research Institute was divided into 7 studios, and each studio had an elite team that worked closely with each other. These teams were responsible for the safety of their own products and the technical results. Not to mention an outsider like Zhang Xian, even the people in the research institute would not know about their research projects or the latest results as long as they were not part of the same team. All the team leaders were only responsible to one person, and that was the absolute king of Chaoyan, Lu Chaoga. Lu Chaoga reasonably distributed the sales to the Lan family, the Lu family and the Qin family, so that they had no choice but to stand on the same side as her. She was in charge of the recruitment of personnel, the management of the research institute, and the final decision on the products. When a new product came out, it was entirely up to her to decide whether or not it should be launched or when it should be launched. Even the other major shareholder, the Qin family, could not directly interfere with such matters. Unless they specifically wanted a product, they would only communicate with Lu Chaoga. Fang Yan was the 3rd major shareholder of Chaoyan Technology, and also the most irresponsible shareholder. Other than knowing that Lu Chaoga was continuously transferring dividends to his account, he knew nothing about Chaoyan Technology. The reason why he brought Zhang Xian to the interior of Chaoyan Technology was because this was the safest place in Huaqing. He believed that even with Jiang Junling's capabilities he would not be able to break into this place, unless he mobilized a large number of troops. However, how could the troops cooperate with them to do such a thing? Jiang Xian glanced at Fang Yan shyly and pretended to grumble, "You're not blind. You know that it's hard for me to get out once I'm in here. On the other hand, if you bring me to a place like this, I won't be able to resist if you want to do anything to me. This is your territory and I won't be able to cry out for help then." Fang Yan laughed and said, "How can you say this in reverse?" Jiang Xian was even more embarrassed. At that time she pulled Fang Yan to the toilet and teased him, but she could not make him stay. Fang Yan's self-control was indeed much stronger than hers. As the two of them stood at the door, a short-haired woman in a white coat came out to welcome them. "Mr. Fang, hello." The short-haired woman looked at Fang Yan with a smile and took the initiative to greet Fang Yan. "You are Xiaoming?" Fang Yan looked at the beautiful woman in front of him in shock and said in disbelief. Xiaoming was Lu Chaoga's secretary when she was the vice principal of Rosefinch High School. She had a good impression of Fang Yan back then. Later, when Lu Chaoga left Rosefinch to start her own business, Xiaoming was transferred to work in the principal's office. Some time ago, Lu Chaoga was betrayed by his assistant, so he transferred his former secretary Xiao Meng to work by his side. Now Meng Xiaoying had become Lu Chaoga's new assistant. "It's me. Mr. Fang, you didn't expect to meet me here, did you?" Xiaoming looked at Fang Yan with a smile, a simple and happy look. This girl was always so carefree and happy. "I didn't expect to meet you here," Fang Yan said. "Why, don't you work at the school anymore?" "After Principal Lu left the school, I have been in contact with Principal Lu. Some time ago I heard that Principal Lu was sick, so I wanted to go see her. Principal Lu asked me if I was happy at work and I said it was fine. Principal Lu asked me if I wanted to transfer to work by her side, and of course I was willing. So now I am Principal Lu's secretary again," Meng Xiaoying said proudly. Fang Yan also smiled and said, "Congratulations." Congratulating me means treating me to a good meal. After I followed Principal Lu, I found out that you are also a major shareholder of Chaoyan Technology. Mr. Fang, although it is said that one should not show one's wealth, aren't you being too careful? Do you know how much money you have now?" Fang Yan thought about it and said, "I really don't know." Meng Xiaoying was furious. How could there be such an arrogant person? "I really don't know," Fang Yan said with a bitter smile. "I spend very little money. And I rarely check my bank accounts. So this is how the rich live," Meng Xiaoying said with a click of her tongue. "But don't worry, I will help you calculate clearly in the future. Oh yes, Principal Lu called me and asked me to bring you to the Underground Research Institute." Meng Xiaoying looked at Jiang Xian, who was standing beside Fang Yan with hostility and said, "Come with me." "Thank you," Fang Yan said with a smile. Meng Xiaoying waved her hands generously and said, "What kind of relationship do we have? Why are you thanking me?" "Oh yes, Mr. Fang, when are you and Principal Lu getting married?" Fang Yan was stunned and asked, "Who said we are getting married?" Meng Xiaoying gritted her teeth and stared at Fang Yan and said, You heartless fellow, the last time I went to visit Principal Lu, he said that you were living together. You actually never thought of getting married? What do you think Principal Lu is? You don't want to take responsibility after taking what you have, right? Let me tell you, I hate such irresponsible men the most. They are worse than beasts, they are the scum of the scum. Wait. Fang Yan hurriedly stopped her. Do you know what my relationship with Principal Lu is? Of course I know. Aren't you already living together? You misunderstood. You call this a misunderstanding. You men really know how to pass the buck. I just don't understand, why would such a smart and beautiful woman like Principal Lu fall for you? If she wanted to find a partner, wouldn't all the men in the world come to her for her to choose? Meng Xiaoying, don't call my name from today onwards, I don't know you anymore. Principal Lu and I don't have the kind of relationship you think, we are just pure, but very close friends. She is a very, very important woman to me, but she is not my woman, we didn't what? We didn't do anything. Fang Yan touched his nose and said. Jiang Shangxin stared at Fang Yan in bewilderment and said, Fang Yan, don't tell me you are still a virgin? What do you know? Fang Yan swept a glance at him and said, I just want to give my first time to my future wife. I'm not a casual man. Then leave it to Principal Lu. Meng Xiaoying's expression softened a little. Principal Lu is the most suitable woman for you. As for the others... Although Meng Xiaoying did not say it too clearly, Jiang Shangxin knew that the humph meant that the other women were not worthy. She was not worthy either. Fang Yan and Jiang Shangxin looked at each other. They did not want to lower themselves to the level of this immature girl. Under Meng Xiaoying's lead, they took the elevator down to the Underground Research Institute. The elevator was newly installed and required fingerprint and voice verification before it could be used normally. If someone with bad intentions wanted to use the elevator, even if they barged in and were discovered by the security personnel, they could immediately spray the knockout powder to cause the person to faint or even die. The Underground Research Institute had also been renovated once again. Some old things were removed and replaced with a large amount of titanium metal. The entire Underground Research Institute had become a gorgeous silver-white empire. Countless people dressed in white were walking back and forth in the transparent glass room. Everyone's expression was so infatuated and focused. This is the work area, Meng Xiaoying said. Meng Xiaoying led Fang Yan and Jiang Shangxin through an alloy door and arrived at the resting area of the Underground Research Institute. Although they were underground, they could not feel the pollution of the air. The air and water that had been filtered by 13 air filtration nets was fresher and more delicious than the air outside. There was plenty of light and a large number of green plants planted in the basement. Some people were drinking coffee and chatting in the resting area, while others were exercising and jogging. Everything was the same as the life on the surface. If you did not see it with your own eyes, you would not be able to believe that you were in the underground world at this moment. Meng Xiaoying walked to the front of a white door and entered a password into the password box at the door. The electronic door slowly opened to both sides. You need to enter the password for the first time, Meng Xiaoying said. She looked at Jiang Shangxin unhappily and said, Place your hand on the identification area. Identification area? Jiang Shangxin asked doubtfully. Why are you so stupid? It's where I entered the password just now. Isn't there a tablet below? Place your palm on it and the computer system will automatically record your fingerprint. In the future you don't need to enter the password when you go in and out, just place your palm on it and press it. Jiang Shangxin knew that this little lass was full of animosity towards her and did not want to talk much with her. She placed her palm on the tablet to record it. Recording successful. A mechanical voice sounded from the computer. Meng Xiaoying took the lead and entered the room. She introduced and said, This is a room for engineers. All the settings are ready. You cannot purchase anything outside, but you can make a list of the things you need and hand it to our procurement staff. Thank you, Jiang Shangxin said. The layout of the room was one bedroom and one living room. The room was very big and so was the living room. It was mainly white with some light green and yellow furniture complementing it. The overall layout was very cozy. This couldn't be compared to the house that Jiang Shangxin usually stayed in. However, they were in trouble now and their lives were on the line. It wasn't the time to be picky. Meng Xiaoying looked at Fang Yan and said, Mr. Fang, this is your first time here, right? Do you want me to bring you around? No need. Fang Yan rejected her. I still have some things to say to Miss Jiang. Meng Xiaoying said helplessly, then I'll go and pour you a cup of coffee, remember not to close the door. Fang Yan really wanted to knock her head. What is this little girl thinking in her head? She thought that they were going to have sex in this enclosed space. When he thought of the words dry firewood and blazing fire, he took another look at his surroundings. When he saw Xianxia, who was more beautiful than a flower, standing panting in front of him, Fang Yan suddenly felt that Meng Xiaoying's worries were not unfounded. Chapter 562. Meng Xiaoying went out and came back very quickly. She placed 2 cups of coffee in front of Fang Yan and Jiang Xianxia, looked at Fang Yan and asked, Mr. Fang, do you guys want fruits? I'll bring you a fruit platter. Fang Yan grabbed her shirt and said, I really don't need it. Just eat some. Eating fruits is good for one's skin. Although your skin is pretty good, your friend's skin is not good. Meng Xiaoying pointed at Jiang Xianxia and said. Jiang Xianxia had cried a few times today, and the makeup on her face was already ruined. Her hair and face were covered in dust, so her skin looked terrible. She doesn't need it either. Fang Yan pushed Meng Xiaoying out and said, We'll look for you when we need you. Go and do your own things first. Mr. Fang, don't close the door, I'll come and look for you later. Clang, Fang Yan closed the door from the inside. Jiang Xianxia giggled and said, If you close the door, won't she be very anxious outside? She's still a child, Fang Yan said. She's afraid that there's something going on between us, right? Such a young child knows how to be loyal to her mistress. It seems that Lu Chaoga is indeed a very charming woman. It can be seen from the way the people around her treat her. Fang Yan thought about it and said, She is a woman that I like and respect very much. It's not a good thing for a man to respect a woman. Jiang Xianxia said. If you love her, do her. This is how a man should treat his woman. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Xianxia and said, If you don't want to say anything, I'll go back first. Didn't you say that this is a difficult choice for me? You won't force me to make a decision. I did say that, Fang Yan said. But I'm worried that you won't be able to resist saying something. What happened today was too unforgettable. If your heart isn't strong enough, you might have nightmares at night. Fang Yan. Jiang Xianxia looked worried. Fang Yan patted her shoulder and said with a smile, It doesn't matter. You should have a good rest first. I'll have someone send you some food. When Fang Yan got up and was about to leave, Xianxia grabbed onto his arm and asked, Fang Yan, what about my mom? What do you mean? Jiang Junling knew that I was with you, but he was still willing to let me go to Paris. That was because he didn't want to pressure my mother too much. My mother controls some of the important businesses of the generals, and they don't wish for a small person like me to cause a huge upheaval in the family's businesses. I understand. Fang Yan nodded. You're afraid that because you didn't go to Paris, they'll do something to your mother. I don't think so. No matter how much they dislike you, it's impossible for them to deal with your mother because of you. Isn't that not worth it? What if I have evidence of their crimes? Jiang Xianxia asked with a trembling voice. At this moment, the cell phone in Jiang Xianxia's pocket rang. Jiang Xianxia took out her cell phone and said happily, My mom is calling. She picked up the call and heard her mother Li Yun's voice. Xianxia, are you all right? Mom, I'm fine. Jiang Xianxia's eyes turned moist again. Mom, I'm sorry. You have nothing to do with me. Take care of yourself. Mom, are you all right? I'm fine. Li Yun replied. What can happen to me? All right, I'll stop talking. I'm hanging up. Jiang Xianxia wanted to say something else, but the line was already busy. Fang Yan said with a grave expression, Your mom is in danger. She didn't even ask where I was. She didn't ask because she didn't want others to know. But they still did something to my mom. Jiang Xianxia said anxiously. Fang Yan, can you help me save her? Don't be anxious. Fang Yan said. I have the evidence of their crimes. As long as you haven't used it or they don't know that you have used it, your mom is safe. Fang Yan, I don't know who else I can rely on now. Even my mom is under their control. The only person I can trust now is you. Jiang Xianxia took off her left earring and passed it to Fang Yan. There is an encrypted chip in it. Jiang Zhuliu's criminal records are in it. Fang Yan didn't take the earring from her and said, If I take the earring away now, you will definitely feel insecure. I'll leave the earring with you first. I'll look for you when I need it. But, can I take a look at the contents? Sure. Zhang Shangxin said. But you need a computer. Fang Yan went out and called Meng Xiaoying over, asking her to prepare a computer. Meng Xiaoying saw the serious expression on Fang Yan's face. This time she didn't say anything and hurried out to get the things that Fang Yan needed. Fang Yan pushed Meng Xiaoying out of the room again and closed the metal door. He took out the chip from the earring and inserted it into a special card slot. Then he inserted the card slot into the computer and pressed the play button. Ding, the play failed. I need a password. Zhang Shangxin said. FY123456. FY is the initials of your name. They can't possibly know that I will use your name to set up the password. Even if they get the chip, they can't open it. Fang Yan nodded and entered the verification number in the password box. Zhang Shangxin turned her face away with reddened eyes when she saw what Fang Yan did. She didn't want to look at the contents again. It was too cruel to herself every time. After a short buffer, the video popped up. Then the sound of the wind came from the speakers. It was the sound of the sea breeze. Then a face appeared. It was Jiang Fengxing's face. The scene that followed was clear and unfamiliar. Such a scene was completely within Fang Yan's prediction, or rather within Fang Yan's imagination. This is the content that I edited. Zhang Shangxin said in a hoarse voice. How did you get it? Fang Yan asked. That day he told me that he was going to fetch my father. I helped him prepare his clothes and tie. I cut off one of the buttons on his shirt and sewed the one with the camera function on. It was at his collar area, Zhang Shangxin said. Did you already suspect him at that time? Fang Yan asked. Who can people like us really trust? Zhang Shangxin had a bitter smile on her face. At that time I still had hopes for him. I wanted him to be my man and my husband. Even if they had 10,000 reasons to do so, he should reject me. I could accept that it was anyone, but I couldn't accept that it was him. When I saw my father's swollen body, I knew what they had done to it. At that time I didn't want to believe it, or maybe I was subconsciously looking for reasons to absolve them. When I cut off that button from his body, when I saw the video from the beginning to the end, I knew what kind of man I had married. He wasn't a human, he was a ferocious wolf, a beast, a devil. I hated him and was afraid of him. I didn't dare to get close to him. I didn't want to share a bed with him. I didn't even want to see his face that always pretended to be affectionate. I was willing to sleep with any man in the world, but I wasn't willing to have any intimate actions with him. He was the most disgusting man in the world. Zhang Shangxin's voice became louder and louder, and her emotions became more and more agitated. Her face was pale and embarrassed, and her body was trembling slightly. This was a feeling of extreme hatred and extreme fear. When a woman married a man, it was the biggest gamble in her life. Someone won the gamble and she married a prince who treated her like a princess. Someone lost the gamble and she married a devil who ate people's hearts and livers. Fang Yan patted Zhang Shangxin's shoulder gently and said, "Evil people get what they deserve. Isn't the retribution already here?" Zhang Shangxin took out a tissue to wipe her eyes and said, "Yes, I must let them receive their retribution." Fang Yan took out the card slot and inserted the chip back into Zhang Shangxin's earring. He thoughtfully put the earring on Zhang Shangxin's ear and asked, "Do they know about the existence of this thing?" "They don't know about the existence of this video, but they are already suspicious of me. They suspect that I have something that is not beneficial to them. Everyone told me to be patient, to pretend that nothing had happened. Even my mother said the same thing. Since he is no longer around, why say these things and make everyone unhappy? But I just can't do it. I can't face my father's death. I can't face this video. I have nightmares every night. In the dreams, my father's face is swollen from soaking in seawater. It is black and purple and his eyes are about to fall out. I can't pretend that nothing happened. My performance was too obvious and they were too smart. It is impossible that they didn't think of it." Fang Yan nodded and said, "Have a good rest here. Leave the rest to me." Zhang Shangxin nodded and looked at Fang Yan with her big watery eyes. He said, "Hey, I believe you." Fang Yan smiled and carried his laptop, preparing to leave. "Fang Yan." Zhang Shangxin suddenly rushed up and hugged Fang Yan's body tightly from behind. She hugged him tightly with all her strength. To this princess who used to be high and mighty, Fang Yan was her everything now. Don't be like this. Fang Yan felt his mouth go dry. Virgins are capable of anything. Chapter 563. When Fang Yan walked out, Meng Xiaoying was still waiting at the door. It's over already? Meng Xiaoying asked. Fang Yan flicked her forehead and said, what does a child know? Help me take care of her, I still have things to take care of. Don't worry, I won't let her starve, Meng Xiaoying said impatiently. She didn't like to worry about Xianxia, and this attitude wouldn't change in a short time. Mr. Fang, when will you treat me to a meal? Fang Yan thought for a moment, then turned to look at Meng Xiaoying and said, eating is a small matter, any time is fine. Xiao Meng, you have to assist Principal Lu in his work. Don't worry. I used to be Principal Lu's secretary, I know Principal Lu's personality and preferences, and also know what to do every day, Meng Xiaoying said. You also have to pay attention to your own safety, Fang Yan said. The reason why Lu Chaoga's previous assistant betrayed her was because someone kidnapped her family. Even if Lu Chaoga would be on guard in the future, who could guarantee that something like this wouldn't happen again? Fang Yan was concerned about Lu Chaoga's safety, and also about Meng Xiaoying's safety. He didn't want anything to happen to the people around him. Safety? Meng Xiaoying looked at Fang Yan with a face full of confusion and said, at that time when Principal Lu asked me if I was willing to work by her side, she also told me to pay attention to my safety, and said that I might encounter some dangerous things. Teacher Fang, what kind of danger would you encounter? That is, someone might do something bad to Principal Lu, Fang Yan said. Is it kidnapping? Meng Xiaoying said with a look of understanding, I know. Back then Wuxia, the son of the richest man in Li, was kidnapped. Later a lot of ransom was given. Let's just say so, Fang Yan said. He took out a pocket-sized white porcelain bottle and handed it to Meng Xiaoying, saying, keep this well, if you encounter danger, eat it. Thank you, Mr. Fang. What is this? Fang Yan waved his hand and said, take it. I hope I won't need to use it. All right. Meng Xiaoying put away the bottle and said, Mr. Fang, I'll walk you out. Thank you, Fang Yan said. When Fang Yan returned home, Lu Chaoga was sitting in front of the French windows in the living room working. Seeing that Fang Yan had returned, Lu Chaoga asked softly, has everything been arranged? It's arranged. Fang Yan nodded. He poured himself a glass of lemonade and walked behind Lu Chaoga. He watched as she skillfully manipulated various forms on the computer. Shouldn't these things be handled by the secretary? When the secretariat is done, send it to me. I need to approve it again, Lu Chaoga said. It's a habit I've developed in school. I'm always worried that I'll make a mistake in the accounts. Did you get anything today? Yes, I did. Fang Yan smiled and said, no wonder the Jiang family has always been so wary of Jiang Xianxia and wanted to send her out. It turns out that she has important evidence of their crimes in her hands. You are right. If I had waited for her to look for me on her own, she might have already fallen into the hands of those people. If I let her go to France, she might not even be able to keep her life. Based on the way those people do things, it's impossible for them to allow a bomb like Jiang Xianxia to live a carefree life in a foreign country. What they want to do is to eliminate the root of the problem and get rid of all their worries in one go. What evidence? Evidence that her father-in-law killed her father. Lu Chaoga stopped what she was doing and remained silent for a long time. Then she turned to look at Fang Yan and said, luckily I met you. If Lu Chaoga hadn't met Fang Yan, would she have had the courage to resist the glorious Jiang family? If Lu Chaoga hadn't met Fang Yan, would she have had the ability to reject and resist the marriage with Jiang Zhulu? If Fang Yan hadn't met Lu Chaoga, would she have been Jiang Xianxia now? Because of Fang Yan, because Lu Chaoga and Jiang Zhulu had completely broken up, the Jiang family facilitated the marriage between the two families in order to curry favor with the Jiang family. In other words, what Jiang Xianxia was going through now might be what Lu Chaoga was supposed to be going through. Even though they had taken too much away from her. Fang Yan patted Lu Chaoga's shoulder and said, I should be the one saying this. Luckily I met you. If not, my life would be very different from how it is now. You have done too much for me, so don't say thank you in the future. Because I have never said thank you to you. I know. That's why I have never said thank you. Lu Chaoga nodded. Do you need me to do anything? Fang Yan nodded and said, it's more suitable for you to do this. I will go upstairs to take a shower first. We can discuss this later. Lu Chaoga nodded. Fang Yan returned to his room, took a shower and changed into the casual clothes he usually wore for practicing martial arts. He walked to the balcony and was about to make a pot of tea to rest when he saw a familiar face at the entrance of the courtyard. Hou Zhendong, the martial arts fanatic. Fang Yan panicked and ran downstairs hurriedly. Fang Yan ran to the entrance of the courtyard in his cotton slippers. He looked at the smiling martial arts addict and asked, how did you find your way here? I want to find someone. That person can forget about running away. The martial arts addict smiled. Other than the elusive black dragon, who else can I not find? Didn't I find your senior brother, Green Dragon Imo Qingdi? Didn't he have to fight with me in the end? Why don't you find the divine dragon? Force him to fight with you? I can't beat him. The martial arts addict said, I don't have the confidence to beat him now. Fang Yan sneered and said, so you always pick on the weak. You only fight with people that you think you can beat and stay away from those that you can't beat. Is this how you get your success rate? No, I only fight with people that I want to fight. When I feel that I'm on par with the divine dragon, I challenge him. I enjoy the process of fighting, not the process of being beaten. Fang Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry, saying, who wants to enjoy the process of being beaten? If you're not willing, then others are. And I'm willing. I might win, but you might not lose. The martial arts addict looked at Fang Yan seriously and said, kid, you make me feel danger. Qin Ying, Fang Yingying and the others who were hiding in the courtyard saw Fang Yan go downstairs and run to the door to talk to a strange-looking man. They immediately surrounded him from several directions. The martial arts addict laughed and said, these are some good fighters. 2 of them are quite good, just enough for me to warm up. Fang Yan waved his hand and said to Qin Ying, Fang Yingying and the others, disperse. He's my friend. I don't have friends. The martial arts addict said. If the 2 of us become friends, I won't be able to beat you to death. Fang Yan was speechless. He wanted to beat this old bastard to death on the spot. Qin Ying waved his hand, and the group of brothers beside him automatically dispersed to the sides and returned to their posts. However, he and Fang Yingying were worried about Fang Yan's safety, so they still stood at the side and didn't go too far. Senior Ho, why did you come all the way here? Fang Yan asked helplessly. Nothing much, I just came to give you a reminder. What reminder? Fang Yan asked, even though he already knew the answer. He really didn't want to waste time on pointless fighting and killing. He was a pacifist. Tonight at 8 o'clock, we'll meet at the top of One Sword Peak, the place where you fought with the Thousand Leaves army. You haven't forgotten, right? Didn't I refuse? Fang Yan said. But I didn't accept your refusal. But I also didn't accept your challenge. See, you're being stubborn again, aren't you? Senior Ho, just let me go. You can find someone else, anyone else. If you can't find them, I'll think of a way to help you find them. No, it'll be you. You've already successfully aroused my desire for you. Fang Yan didn't have any desire for the martial fanatic. Not everyone is worth my time. I'm not feeling well today. You're in a very good state of mind, it's impossible for you to not feel well. Besides, if you can't even endure a little bit of difficulty, how can you be considered an elite of the martial world? The martial fanatic saw Fang Yingying standing at the door and said, that fatso is quite cute. As he spoke, he suddenly raised his foot and stomped it on the ground. Crack! A crack appeared on the ground. That crack was wrapped in an incomparably violent strength qi and attacked Fang Yingxiong. Fang Yan stomped on the ground and created another crack to block it. Boom! 2 white forces collided in front of Fang Yingying, then exploded with an ear-piercing sound. At the point of contact, cement and gravel flew everywhere, forming a small crater. That was the result of 2 completely different forces attacking each other. Qin Ying stared at the crack on the ground with a surprised expression, feeling that the scene in front of him went against everything he knew. What is this? Could it be that what he's come into contact with is just the tip of the iceberg and the true martial arts of the martial world? Is this kind of move that kills people without a trace? Fang Yingying froze for a moment, then cursed loudly, pointing at the martial fanatic and roared, "You old bastard, are you jealous of my handsome appearance so you immediately used a killing move to take this young master's life? Fortunately this junior martial uncle is quick-witted, otherwise this young master would have been killed by you. Where did this ugly monster come from? What's so great about knowing a little bit of martial arts? Do you dare to fight me? Fight me, the junior martial uncle, for 300 rounds? Watch me, the junior martial uncle, skin you alive, pull out your tendons and let you die without a burial ground." The martial fanatic sneered and said, "That's exactly what I'm planning to do." Fang Yingying pointed at the martial fanatic and laughed, saying, "Junior martial uncle, this ugly monster wants to challenge you. Don't hold back, beat him until even his mother can't recognize him." Fang Yan stared deeply at Fang Yingying and said, "The ugly monster you're talking about is one of Wuxia's 7 fanatics, the martial fanatic." Chapter 564. Wuxia's 7 addicts. Fang Yingying stared at Hou Zhendong, the martial addict, and shook his head. "They don't look alike." "What do you think he should look like?" Fang Yan snappily asked. "What era is it now? Does this guy still judge a book by its cover? Does he have to look like me to become a martial arts master? Does he have to look like Bai Xiu to become a rising star in Neijiang? This doesn't make sense. A strange person with a strange appearance, what kind of strange person is he? He's Wuxia's 7 addicts, a legendary figure. Even if he's not as handsome and elegant as junior martial uncle, there's no need to look like an overfed middle-aged uncle. I can't accept it, I can't accept it at all. We, the people of the Appearance Association, have a strict and persistent pursuit of beauty. We like all beautiful things like handsome men and beautiful women. The martial addict in my heart is not like this." Fang Yan couldn't understand. How could Fang Yingying so easily say something like, "We in the Appearance Association"? Does he not look at himself in the mirror? If he did, how could he live such a carefree, innocent, lively and simple-minded life? 9 feet tall, jade face, long robe. Holding a red tasseled spear made of dragon scale stone, or a startling rainbow sword made by Master Wu Yazi. His long hair draped over his shoulders, his long robe flapping noisily in the wind. Just by standing there he exudes a supreme majesty that can drive away wolves and tigers. This is the martial arts fanatic of the 7 fanatics of China. Fang Yingying looked at Hou Zhendong with a wronged expression, feeling like his idol had been shattered. How can he be like this? How can he be like this? Is he worthy of the title martial addict? Fang Yan was a little regretful for saving him just now. It would have been great if Hou Zhendong's cracking technique directly killed him. The martial addict laughed and pointed at Fang Yingying. "This boy is simple and cute. Who is he to you?" "My martial nephew," Fang Yan said. "Martial nephew?" The martial addict asked in confusion. "Who is your master?" "Azure Dragon, don't underestimate your enemy." "What a pity," the martial addict sighed and looked at Fang Yingying as if he was looking at a 1,000-year-old treasure. "It's not a pity, it's not a pity." Fang Yan hurriedly said, "Senior, if you like it, feel free to take it away. I can still make the decision on this matter. I only hope that Senior doesn't find trouble with me and I will be eternally grateful. A gentleman doesn't take what others like." The martial addict declined. "Not good. Not good at all. No one likes him, you can just take him." Fang Yan said with endless hidden bitterness. "Besides, what kind of gentleman are you?" The martial addict stared at Fang Yan with a strange smile and said, "You have insulted me." "All the more reason for you to accept my challenge, Fang Yan boy. Tonight at 8 o'clock at the summit of the One Sword Mountain, I will fight you to the death." "Senior, don't be like this. Aren't you forcing us to buy and sell? If you still feel angry you can scold me again, then it's settled." The martial addict Hou Zhendong interrupted Fang Yan, looked at Fang Yan and said, "Boy, if you don't come tonight my cracking turtle technique won't only be used on that little fatso." His line of sight passed through the door and looked at Lu Chaoga, who was standing under the eaves of the corridor looking outside. He said, "Hiding a beauty in a golden house, what a heavenly life. But if the beauty gets hurt by someone it wouldn't be pretty, would it? Is this a threat?" "Think what you want," the martial addict casually said. He put his hands in his pockets and staggered outside like a loafer. He was even singing some strange lyrics, persuading the king to drink wine and listen to the song of Yu Yu. dispelling the king's sorrows and dancing. Qin's tyranny broke the country, heroes rose up to fight. Since ancient times the saying doesn't lie. Success or failure, rise or fall in a split second. How about drinking wine and listening to the military report? Fang Yan listened carefully. It was a passage from Farewell My Concubine. Fang Yan spat on the ground. How unlucky. Fang Yingying and Qin walked in front of Fang Yan. Fang Yingying asked, Junior martial uncle, is he really a martial addict? Fang Yan used the tip of his foot to point at the crack on the ground and said, Do you think a person can make the ground shake like this just by stomping their feet? Then why do you want me to go with him? Fang Yingying angrily asked. I'm not afraid of a godlike opponent, but I'm afraid of a pig-like teammate. He's been pestering me for a long time, wanting me to fight with him. I've rejected him so many times, but you're the one who messed things up. If you go with him, it'll save me a lot of trouble. Junior martial uncle, why don't you want to fight with him? Fang Yingying asked. Why should I fight with him? Fang Yan asked in return. Isn't it natural for us martial artists to spar and learn from each other to improve together? Fang Yingying asked. Let go of victory and defeat, let go of honor and disgrace. Don't be arrogant if you win, don't be angry if you lose. Isn't that what we should do? Fang Yan looked at Fang Yingying with a surprised expression and said, I didn't think you could say something like that, you've really matured a lot. How about you go and fight with the martial addict for me tonight? Fang Yingying desperately shook his chubby head, saying, No, I can't. If I go, I'll be beaten half to death by the martial addict. At that time, I'll be losing face for Shifu and Junior martial uncle. Didn't you say to let go of victory and defeat, honor and disgrace? Now you're afraid of losing face? I'm asking others to let go. Don't those old monks always ask others to let go, while I'm sitting in the heart of Buddha? Qin stared at the martial addict's back for a long time, then asked, Is this the strongest expert of the martial world? You can say so. Fang Yan smiled and said, The martial addict, one of the 7 addicts of Wuxia. If he wasn't obsessed with martial arts, how could he obtain such a title? Qin sighed deeply, saying, The road ahead is long. Fang Yan patted his shoulder, saying, We will continue to search from top to bottom. There are no cliffs in the path of martial arts, let's cherish it as we go. When Fang Yan returned to the courtyard, Lu Chaoga showed a worried expression and asked, Are you all right? I'm fine. Fang Yan smiled and said. An old friend, he came here to find me for a fight, but I refused. Lu Chaoga nodded, then softly asked, What do you want to eat? I'll cook. Because there were often street racers racing on Single Sword Mountain 2 years ago, there was an extremely serious traffic accident. 2 luxury cars collided at the same time at a curve and rolled into a cliff by the side of the road, destroying the cars and killing the people inside. Because the cars caught fire and exploded in the process of falling off the cliff, when the rescue team found the wreckage of the cars, the people inside the cars had already been burnt to a crisp. The owners of the 2 luxury cars both had powerful backgrounds, so when their relatives cried bitterly, they naturally vented their anger on the administrative department of Flower City. It was said that because of this incident, the head and deputy head of the Department of Traffic at that time were both removed from their positions, and a large number of the higher-ups under them were investigated. The government of Flower City was also quite wronged. If your son wanted to race, who could stop him? Besides, even if they didn't race on Single Sword Mountain, they would still go to Double Sword Mountain, 3 Sword Mountain, 4 Sword Mountain, and Heaven Sword Mountain. Who knew when something would happen? In order to vent their anger, the government of Flower City ordered people to set up several huge stone roadblocks at the entrance of the mountain. Cars couldn't be driven up, so anyone who wanted to go up the mountain could only walk. Who did Single Sword Mountain offend? This method was indeed barbaric and effective. Single Sword Mountain's racing program every night was cancelled, and those street racers went to harm other cities and mountains. The Volkswagen stopped at the foot of the mountain and Fang Yan opened the door and got out. After the Snake Lord parked the car, he quietly followed behind Fang Yan. His walking posture was very strange. He always touched the ground with his toes first and his heels almost didn't touch the ground. Because of this, he almost didn't make any sound when he walked. He was like a venomous snake slithering in the grass. You don't have to follow me, Fang Yan said without turning his head. The Snake Lord didn't reply. His figure flashed and disappeared into the grass behind Fang Yan. The Snake Lord should live in the dark like a snake. When he discovered the enemy, he should suddenly jump out and give the enemy a fatal blow. Fang Yan still decided to accept the challenge of the martial arts fanatic. It wasn't for winning or losing, and he wasn't worried about honor or disgrace. That was completely bullshit. He was here to win. Who didn't want to win? He understood the martial arts fanatic. Since the martial arts fanatic was a fanatic, it proved that he was willing to do anything for the sake of martial arts. When he took the boat down the Pearl River, he used the witness to test his strength. When he said that it would be harmful to Lu Chaoga, he wasn't just saying it. Fang Yan wasn't afraid of the martial arts fanatic, but he was afraid of trouble. He didn't want the martial arts fanatic to follow him like a ghost, and there was no better way to solve it other than to beat him down and make him surrender. Fang Yan sneaked out and didn't let Fang Yingying and Qining know. In order not to worry Lu Chaoga, he didn't even drive the BMW at home. Fang Yan was very familiar with the destination, so he passed through the dark mountain forest with ease. 3 years ago he fought with the Japanese sword god Chiba Bin at the top of the One-Sword Peak. That battle made him famous in Jianghu, and it also changed his relationship with Chiba Bin, who was both an enemy and a friend. However, he didn't expect that Chiba Bin would choose to end his life in such a decisive way. He chose to leave when he was at the peak of his martial arts, and became a god in the eyes of the Japanese swordsmen. For 3 years Fang Yan hadn't been here. However, he didn't forget this place at all. When Fang Yan arrived at the top of the One-Sword Peak, a man in a black robe was already standing there with a smile, like an uncle next door who came out for a stroll after a meal. When the martial arts fanatic saw Fang Yan coming out, he grinned and said, "I knew you'd come. Why? Because there's hatred in your eyes that can't be suppressed." The martial arts fanatic said in a clear voice, "Fang Yan, no matter who you hate, take it out on me tonight." Fang Yan wanted to turn around and run. Why did this middle-aged man always sound so wretched when he spoke? You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.